Good evening, demons. Hit the wrong button there first. I was like, wait, why is the scene changing? Why isn't my mic unmuted? Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday so far. I haven't done a lot with my day today. I woke up extremely late. Even for me. But I am super excited to keep going with National Park Girls. God, it was so cute. I really did want Eve to clock that guy who started the fire with the cigarette. But it was also really sweet that Yosemite stopped her. Alright. Let's get going. Load up from last time. Just this. Oh, right. It was something kind of creepy. The music I remember was creepy as heck. The sound whips through the air. But from what? And who? I look around, but I don't remember telling myself to turn on my head. Like I'm trapped like I'm a trapped observer in my own body. Yeah, it was this audio. That is unsettling. There are people crowded around me and gasping. There are trees, too. A whole clearing of them, in fact. A few of them are even lined up in a row. All of them are dripping. Not with sap. Not with water or dew. Not as nature intended. It drips with fresh green paint. It bleeds into the bark. I look at the first tree and there's a tail. From where I'm standing, it looks like it connects to the next tree in the row. A long serpent-like body painted through it. This goes on for so long. For too long. Each tree dripping paint down to the soil, entombing its roots. And then finally, at the last tree, there's the head of a dragon. It's wearing a baseball cap and smoking a blunt. I know it's a blunt because the smoke is a lighter shade of green. That's a stereotype I'm totally okay with seeing. Smoke that surrounds me. Smoke that becomes fog.
Eve, what are you doing?
A voice springs out of the fog. I recognize it. Her. Jessie. Why does she sound scared? Why does she sound shocked? Why does she sound furious?
Teaching him a lesson.
Did I? Is that what I did? Oh, this must have been the guy that she actually assaulted before. What did I do? On the ground, there's a man withering on the dirt, sobbing into a patch of grass. He's covering his mouth, his nose. Blood seeps through his fingers. Blood seeps into the dirt.
You bitch! What the hell? You broke my jaw! You broke my jaw!
His voice is muffled. The words tumble out in a panic.
Yeah? Well, your fucking neck is next.
I forgot how much I related to Eve.
Don't you take another step.
My hand, I assume it's my hand, is balled up into a fist. Blood speckles the knuckles. I open it up and stare at my palm. So what was the crack?
Oh god, it hurts. This is assault, you whore. Oh,
Ooh.
I'll press charges. Sue you and this entire park.
I do like how artist is in quotations. Oh. Crack was the sound his face made when my fist hit it.
How about I work those charges up to murder then?
He reels back, raising his hands to shield himself. The green paint staining his hands begins to mix with the blood. I start to stomp over to him. Stomp, stomp, stop, stop.
Stop! You've gone too far this time, Eve. Not far enough. Not until he's learned some respect.
Stop. Jesse tackles me from behind, restraining me with a full Nelson. Ooh, wow.
Get off of me!
Please, stop.
All you're doing is incriminating yourself. Now stand down! No! I don't care anymore!
I elbow Jessie in her gut, struggling to break free, but her grip is like a locked chain. Someone stop her.
This is an order, Adams!
Someone stop me.
Eve!
Stop.
Eve!
Stop!
Eve!
I shoot up in bed, sweat sticks to my pajamas, breath trickles into my suffocated lungs as I gasp desperately for air. A pair of arms wrap around my chest like constrictive rope. It's fucking Yellowstone. Oh my god. Eve has a BlackBerry. When is this set? I haven't seen one of those in years. I used to have one too. With a few grunts, I wiggle onto my side. My cheeks roll into a shallow pool of drool as I'm confronted with Yellowstone's murmuring face and buffalo print pajamas. Aw, that's cute.
Administration is gonna flip your fries and malt.
I love Yellowstone so much. Snuggling up to me, she squeezes me tighter. I think I prefer Jessie putting me in a submission hold. I should put in a request for a door. Yellowstone gives an unconscious grunt, then snores into the fabric of my shirt. Scratch that. I should put in a request for a door with a lock. I fall back onto my pillow. The faded morning light glitters through the window, anchoring me to the present, where my worst mistakes are behind me. Just over my shoulder, but still behind me. The mini volcano protruding from Yellowstone's head puffs out light dots of smoke, matching the rhythm of her breath. That's so fucking cute. I follow the smoke until it dissipates into the padded ceiling. From there, I count the wooden beams that run across it. There are some nightmares we relive every day.
That's it. I'm switching to decaf before bed.
Bedhead, get cuddled by a volcano. That's so cute. I do like how they balanced out like the tense memory bit with, fucking eepy Yellowstone. Amazing. I somehow managed to look mildly more dead inside than I usually do. Poke at the resting crow's feet that have nested in the deep bags beneath my eyes. There's a brief lightning strike of panic, a moment where the blades of my mortality slap me across the face, but it subsides and I swallow most of my emotion with a yawn. Close one. I'm just tired, but at least I'm not exhausted. Not today, and not even yesterday, in fact. I slip on my uniform and button my shirt. My badge is pinned to my chest, crooked and clinging to the wrinkled fabric. It might distinguish my authority as a ranger, but in the end, it's just a hunk of metal. People generally get the message once they see the hat and the khakis.
Don't forget about the dishes, Yellowstone.
I'll hop right on it. Yellowstone, is my oatmeal ready yet? I hope it has raisins. I like those.
Oh, Zion, baby.
All the raisins you want, cutie. Just need a sec.
Where do they get all of the stuff for food? Like, where do they get the raisins? Did they send Yosemite to the store? Did they send Yellowstone to the store with a hat on? Yellowstone zips across the cabin, the stack of dishes teetering on her head as she bends to grab the trash and loose clothes. Hunched over the table, Yosemite flips a page in whatever tome she's reading today, her fist glued to her chin. a castle of stacked mugs skirting next to her elbow. Scare campers and take their picnic food? True. Make them think they're dead, but just have Zion show up. Zion sits crisscross applesauce on the floor. Oh, God. Stroking Pup's coarse fur, his bony frame curled up on his brand new doggy bed. Oh, they got a bed for the coyote baby. Which you should not ever do, but it is cute as heck. Pup stretches, his silent yawn shaping into a faint howl. Oh, I want a pet. Or coyote bed, I guess. I step out of my corner of the cabin right as Yellowstone comes charging past the divider curtains. Our foreheads crack together, skin and stone colliding. Oh no. The rough edge of her volcano scrapes against my forehead. I stumble back, my hands jerk up to soothe the pain, but a leaning tower of dishes slides towards me. Before they shatter before my very eyes, I push against them. Yellowstone's head jolts up to balance the plates. One sticks out like a Jenga piece, otherwise, no damage. I breathe out a sigh of relief.
Holy smokes! I'm so sorry. I was gearing up for laundry and I wasn't thinking and...
You're doing too much at once.
Yellowstone.
I grip her shoulders and cut off her babbling.
It's okay. I'm only slightly irritated.
Her skin is pale enough to make me think her soul has been sucked from her body.
Nuh-uh, no way. I goofed. What if you got cut? Then Yosemite would yell at me and I'd need to scrub the blood off before it stains oh no. Coffee.
Panic pumps the color back into her.
Oh jeez. Not good. Not good.
I think Yosemite puts a little too much onto Yellowstone for the chores and stuff. She curls her hand into a fist and swats her volcano. The dishes wobble. Over.
Stupid, stupid, stupid.
And over.
Why do I keep screwing things up?
Oh, sweetie. And over.
This is not hippie skippy!
Hippie what?
English. Now.
I forgot to make your coffee, Eve.
This is almost too exhausting for me to deal with. I might even laugh if it didn't look like her heart was about to swan dive out of her chest.
Is that it? Don't get so worked up. I can do it myself.
Really? You're not gonna give me a knuckle sandwich? Because I'd give me a knuckle sandwich.
Be nice to yourself. She raises her fist to clonk herself over the head again. Yosemite glances up, more interested in polishing off the page she's on than anything around her.
Hey, quit it.
She stuffs her nose back into her book.
And don't forget about the laundry.
Concerned, Zion whips around to look at us. For at least the 20th time this week, I find myself wondering how such a small girl can hold in so much panic. Aww.
Please don't hurt yourself. It makes me sad.
She doesn't hit herself, but everything else they said must have gotten drowned out. Yellowstone's eyes swim in their sockets, landing on random corners of the room like something is about to leap out and eat her.
You holding up okay?
Her eyes flutter, then focus on me. She grins and shoots me a thumbs up, proof enough for me that she never hopped off her usual non-stop sugar rush.
Yep, just dandy. That's just a little sore from when you shoved me out of bed.
I slop past her, pushing out one last yawn as I start for the kitchen.
Stay out of my bed. I'm not the cuddling type.
Aw, but your bed is so soft and cozy. Just like you, dollface.
I'm not sure which one I feel first. My eye twitching or my cheeks burning. It's all made worse by Yosemite snickering behind the safety of her book. The coward.
Can it, before I pour coffee in your head.
In your head.
What's the matter? Big bad ranger gaining a little weight? Does she not have abs of steel? No, but she has fists of them. The scariest thing about that threat is how stale it's gotten.
Oh. I love these two. I huff towards the sink and ignore her, choosing to fill up the percolator instead. It's not my fault Yellowstone uses a stick of butter in all her cooking. True.
Say, do you care if I rake up all your dirty clothes? It's laundry day.
Laundry? What a novel concept.
Yosemite mumbles loud enough for the point to get across. Yellowstone's smile fades and her gaze droops down.
Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
With pleasure.
She slinks behind the corner. Zion watches intently, observing Yellowstone as she gathers up my clothes. With Zion's attention drawn away and in desperate need of more morning pets, Pup hops out of his bed and braves the world. He buries his snout in my legs. Aw, puppy. Look at the little guy. I let the percolator fill up with water and bend over to scratch his ears. He leans in, grunting in ecstasy, his ear flopping up and down like a flag in the wind. She's such a tsundere. And she melts when it comes to animals. If clocking some dumbass in the face gets me a suspension and banished here, then I can only imagine what Jessie would do if she found out I wasn't just feeding Pup, but housing him as well. I crank on the stove and pour in the coffee grounds. I gaze out the window, waiting for the coffee to boil. Across the road and past the field, I spot the butt end of a motorhome big enough for me to know someone is compensating for something. Even when muffled by a wall of trees, their argument carries across the clearing. Today's idiot. A man. Today's other idiot. A woman. Why does Eve end up with all the horrible people? Definitely married. Those germ shacks are publicly funded miracles, DOI willing. Ungrateful ass.
Just listen to them, Pup.
His ears perk up and his head tilts. I think he's listening to me instead. He looks at me instead.
They'd rather sleep in a tin can than a tent. How do you mess up camping that bad?
Puppy! Pup paws at my leg. A desperate plea for pets? Absolutely. But I have a desperate need for validation, so I think this is a reasonable trade-off.
Idiots. The hookup is at the campground. How much longer do you think it'll be until they decide to dump the septic tank? I think a better question is how much longer you're going to use your nihilism as a security blanket.
Damn, get owned.
Until they're all dead. I have 7 billion pieces of bad news for you, and you're one of them.
Coffee boils over the spout and dribbles down the percolator. I twist off the stove and bring my boiling pot of sunshine over to the table.
Keep patronizing. If a tiny forest fire makes you come down with a fever, I can't wait to find out how bad you smell when Mr. and Mrs. Crisis Counseling decide trash cans are too complicated.
This is great. I'm so happy we're doing this one. I reach for the dirty mug balancing on top of the 5 others. Like I've done thousands of mornings before, I pour the still simmering coffee.
Just what do you think you're doing?
I tip the percolator back, 3 drips already speckling the cup.
Pouring coffee. Into a dirty cup?
I glance back at the mug. A faint ring of yellow tea residue circles around the middle.
Looks fine to me.
Yosemite's ears flatten.
But I just drank out of it.
And?
I'm not skipping my morning coffee because of your slobber.
I pour the rest until it nearly slops over the edge of the cup. Keeping my eyes locked with Yosemite's, I take the first sip.
I can't believe you! You are so gross! Aren't you the one who uses the same tea bag over and over because you don't want to be wasteful? Yeah, but that's different.
Yosemite caresses her forehead, a pink glow gradients her cheeks.
What if I get your germs, huh? We can't just go swapping saliva like that, you know.
Yeah, I think you're thinking a little bit too hard about this, Yosemite.
I think you have your information mixed up.
Yosemite gives a tired sigh. Any hint of embarrassment has been replaced by exhausted certainty.
What are you talking about? Of course I don't. Everyone knows germs are exchanged between both parties whenever body fluids come into contact.
Excuse me?
I think the only germ any of us need to worry about catching is your ego.
I wonder if she just feels obligated to know more than everyone else, even when she's wrong. Like, being smart is her cross to bear. Even if she's a smart aleck and a know-it-all, I've come to not like, yet, but appreciate Yosemite. Yeah, that works. I appreciate Yosemite.
So, how long do you plan on letting the breeding pair struggle out there before helping? Until they go away, or my shift starts. Whichever comes first.
We glance at the window. The yelling continues, blending in with the chirps of morning birds.
Isn't teaching these people how to not mess these things up your, I don't know, job?
I rip open 2 packets of sweetener I find buried beneath Yosemite's research. She gives me a dirty look for digging around in her crap, but I just ignore her and pour them in my coffee.
I signed up to protect and preserve. It's not my job to teach these people. Especially when they care so little about the parks, they couldn't even be bothered to do a little research. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not. But weren't you the one who sent those kids to a fire safety course after that incident a few weeks back?
Ah, so it's been a few weeks since then, since the first episode.
But I'm not the one teaching that course, am I? So you're just going to let them keep making mistakes? Don't make it sound so innocent. It's ignorance, plain and simple. You can't teach people to appreciate the things they have. They either already do or they learn it on their own. If they can't, that person is just defective.
I think there's a bit of truth to that, but not entirely. Take a wild guess at which one most people are.
How come you're defending them anyway? What happened to your lectures about the dangers of humanity?
I wiggle my fingers like a ghostly specter and then throw a couple of gulps of coffee.
They were never lectures on the dangers of humanity. They were lectures on complacency. Real ignorance. Particularly in relation to people in power. Like rangers.
Ooh, throwing shade.
You say you're sick of cleaning up people's messes. Then teach them how to avoid making them to begin with. Or do you not want to protect and preserve?
A smirk creeps from the corner of her mouth, smug and irritating. But her eyes are narrowed, stern and genuine. God, I hate it when she has a point.
No one should be allowed to be as smarmy as you know that? Yet here I am. Yeah, but can you disappear? You're just upset because I'm onto something. What you're on is a tangent.
And? I swipe away the book resting beneath her arms. Mostly because I know that if I don't, the verbal thrashings are going to wear down any argument I have, and my ego just can't handle that today.
And what is it even that you're educating yourself with?
I read the title of the sleek paperback cover, dog ears bending from the corners and sides from multiple read-throughs. It feels like the pages might fall out if I give it a good enough shake.
The human mind. God and Architect by Dr. Angela Merrick. Sounds like some New Age trash to me.
Give that back! It's valuable research!
She wrenches it from my hand before I even get the chance to comply, and then cradles it close to her chest. I raise a very doubtful eyebrow.
Dr. Merrick was a road paver who time just hasn't caught up with yet.
Okay. If my eyebrows had muscles, they would be getting an intense workout.
She argued that the human consciousness, or rather, the collective consciousness of mankind, was powerful enough to create...
I see where this is going. She says this like it's common knowledge, and I mean, maybe it is to crazy people or fantasy writers.
Create what? Anything! Things, places, maybe even entire worlds. All without ever even knowing it. All that energy needs to go somewhere, right? Uh-huh. And what evidence is all this based off? Her own eyewitness accounts and analysis. Even though she was blind.
Yeah, that just took a lot of the winds out of your sails there.
Oh, honey.
Why is it always when I go to take a drink?
What? You got suckered. I did not. So hard.
You could just feel the smugness radiating from Eve.
Shut up. Sure. You've already said more than enough. It all sounds like,
Hogwash?
See? She's got it.
Ha!
Yellowstone, be quiet. I'm trying to open Eve's puny mind.
I breathe in, ready to take another stab at her, a sharp one, when Yellowstone gets the first word in before me.
Well, actually, I was wondering if I could start rinsing off dishes.
She twiddles her fingers together, shifting her eyes to the ground, away from Yosemite's hawkish stare. I think she may actually be scared of her.
About time. All right, take them two at a time. I don't want to see any of them break. Like someone's scope of thought. Why are you so interested in what a quack has to say anyway?
Oh, shit. Something just fell over, and that is not something I can allow to fall over. 2 by 2, Yellowstone takes the mugs by the handles, resting them in a bed of bubbly water flooding the sink. Oh my god. This happened last Wednesday, too. Oh. Oh, why is this happening?
Because that quack gave me a theory. What kind of theory? Like, involving your research?
Yeah. She's probably thinking that the three of them were created from the collective unconscious image of what each national park would be like as a person. I lean in closer, my voice dropping to a hushed whisper, even though there's no secret to be kept. Although I really couldn't care much less than I do already, and that's not much at all. It's just a small amount, really.
About where you three might have come from? Something to that effect. Let's consider, just for a moment, that if enough people feel strongly about something, then they really do create some kind of, I don't know, physical embodiment of it? Doubtful, but I'll suspend my disbelief. So wouldn't it stand to some kind of reason that since strong feelings, and as a result, cultural perceptions, shift with time, the physical results of it would change too?
Oh, and that would probably lead to the forgetting. Well, maybe.
What are you getting at?
Her face is flushed again. I wonder if this is her first time saying all this out loud. Does she hear how ridiculous it all sounds? Eve, Yellowstone has a volcano growing out of her head. Yosemite can, like, make water flow from her hair. Zion has wings and grows plant matter out of herself. It's all ridiculous.
What if those physical results are us?
My spine tingles the realization that these girls are something different, re-emerging for the first time in days. I'm practically with them all the time now, so I've gotten used to it. But the idea that they're not flesh and blood like me, but flesh, blood, stone, feathers, and volcanic rock, too, makes this truce we have seem utterly ridiculous. I'm playing house with 3 fairies? Sprites? Ghosts? Apologies, ma'am. I wasn't aware it was against protocol to house fairy tale creatures in our posts, but don't they damn near look like real girls, though?
So, what? You think Zion here is gonna go through park puberty in a couple of years? Maybe sprout up by 2 feet?
Zion blinks, glances back and forth, then points to herself as if to confirm, yes, we really are talking about the same Zion. Aw, and then she just pops back down again. Collective unconscious sci-fi stories are so cool. Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking, like, that's probably what's going on here. Yosemite scoots back in her chair, eyes wide and distant, like I just plucked at a nerve. When her ears flatten, I can tell the conversation has hit a wall.
Puberty would be more forgiving.
Yellowstone comes back around for the last mug.
Done with your coffee? It's cool if you aren't, but if you are, then can I nab it? I mean, as long as I'm not rushing you to choke it down, but if it's cool beans, then...
Go ahead. It's cold now, but you can drink whatever's left in the cup.
Yellowstone bounces nervously, the kind of shaking I get when I go a day without coffee. It's like her personality has been flipped on its head. She still has boundless energy, but now it's all neurotic and buzzed up. I hand the cup off to Yellowstone. She brings the mug to her lips, tilting it back.
Stop drinking out of the same cup!
Yosemite dives across the table. She slams down in front of me. Her hand just stops just short of the mug. Yellowstone jumps, stirred by the crack of Yosemite flopping on the table. The mug falls and shatters. Pup's ears rise to attention. There's a quick sliver of silence as we stare at the broken pieces of ceramic.
Go get the dustpan, Yellowstone.
You fucking made this happen. You do it. All of our attention is turned to Yellowstone, her eyes drawn down. Puffs of smoke blot out the air above her, rising from her head like a stack of exhaust. Her fists clench together. I hear them crack. Her arms tense until they shake.
I'll get it later.
A stiff whisper. Quiet enough for me to be unsure if I even heard it right. Yellowstone zaps out of sight. A gust of wind twirls around us, tossing loose papers from the table. Loose papers. And then there's just empty space. Static crackles over the radio. The familiar chirp of Jesse's voice is bright enough for me to want to draw the curtains across it.
Wakey, wakey! Eggs and potential disciplinary action, Eve.
Your timing is as impeccable as always, Jesse. Zion looks up to Yosemite, concern swimming in her eyes.
What's wrong with Yellowstone? She's not acting like herself.
She's fine. Don't be pulled in by the theatrics. She's just being a brat.
No, she's not. Yosemite goes back to reading, occasionally grumbling. Zion looks to me, but the best I can offer is a shrug.
Don't ask me what's normal around here.
I stand up and stride over to the radio, picking up in the middle of one of Jesse's threats masked by good cheer.
This pretty light-up pen on my desk is ready to write you up if you don't answer by the count of 5.
The sing-songness of the way she does it.
1 Mississippi.
This is Ranger Adams, and you can't fire me. I already have a letter of resignation. Over.
Oh, okay.
My shredder is more than ready for it.
Boo.
What do you want, Jesse? I'm trying to enjoy the peace before throwing myself at the mercy of the general public.
I just thought you might want to hear from your favorite supervisor.
Not before my shift, I don't.
Funny, you had the same thought yesterday, and the day before that.
Just making sure you weren't boarded up in that cabin, hiding your pretty face from the rest of the world.
She hides the next bit under a cough.
And to let you know you're on trash duty today.
Like hell! I'm on patrol this week, not sweeping up cigarette butts.
Don't be such a diva. You're just taking the trash out of bins that are already filled up. Hardly community service.
What happened to the usual guy? Simmons or something?
Dead mother-in-law, he says. 5th one this year by my count.
Jesus.
Tragic.
We both sigh. Hers sounds like a wind coming through the speaker.
Every trash can in the meadows, I'm guessing. There has to be an easier way to do this. Don't the Grand Teton guys have a sensor in all their cans? Something that pops up on their tablets when everything's full.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like this particular posting has anything more technologically advanced than this radio.
I hear it rains manna in Grand Teton too. But that doesn't stop our year-round fire season down here, and that eats up most of the budget. Sorry, sweetie, but...
It's not elbow grease
crap.
I'm gonna be covered in once I'm finished.
I didn't mean to do that.
But you will be filled with pride in a job well done. Just remember to lather and rinse with cold water.
I release the comm button, making sure my groan doesn't travel through the radio waves and give her another reason to scold me. But her voice drops to pitiable sympathy, almost as if she could hear me anyway.
Do this for me and I'll bring some new snacks the next time we catch up. I have teriyaki jerky! Your favorite!
Her voice glides along in a melody, like bribery is a surefire way to my heart. And I mean, yeah, it is. But she could be less obvious about it. No log function? Maybe? Doesn't look like it. Weird. I mean, it's not like it was like a super important line. It said rollback? What? Left? Nope. A little late now, but if it happens again, yeah, I'll figure it out.
Make it 2 bags and it's a 10-4.
You've got yourself a deal, Ranger. Have fun! Over and out.
Man, now I want jerky.
Yep.
I set the mic aside, not bothering to put it back on its hook. With a sigh, I grab my travel mug and pour the rest of the coffee from the percolator.
Well, girls, duty calls.
Cleanup duty, from what I heard.
If you find a way to spin this to prove another point, I'm quitting.
Oh no, I'll leave it as is. Just finding some worldly irony in it is all.
I know just the place where you can shove your worldly irony.
I snatch my hat off the rack and open the door to the bright morning, letting some of the chill in. Zion calls out as I step onto the porch.
But what about Yellowstone? We can't just ignore her.
She looks onto me, then Yosemite, anxious for words of comfort.
Good point. Eve, if you see Yellowstone, make sure to remind her to do laundry.
Why don't you fucking do it? I grunt as I struggle to lift what must be the 100th bag of garbage from its bear-proof receptacle. My arms lost all feeling roughly 50 bags ago. Having the bag up and into the Heaving the bag up and into the bed of the pickup truck I've been given, I spot a split near the seam.
Oh, no, 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 no!
Yeah, I'm like that when handling garbage, too. I shove the bag upwards just as it starts to tear, managing to avoid most, but not all of the trash juice that spills out. Some of it splashes onto my gloves, staining them a repugnant puce color. Ugh, I feel like I want to vomit now. God knows what's in it. Cigarette butts, energy drinks, whatever other chemicals people feel the need to imbibe themselves with. At least with coffee, you know exactly how you're poisoning yourself. Once the bag crosses the threshold into the bed of the truck, though, it reaches the fabled not my problem zone. I'm sure Simmons will eventually be tasked with throwing it all out. Whatever they pay that man isn't enough. Whatever they pay me isn't enough. I fluff up one of the empty industrial-sized bags and replace the one I just removed before fitting the lid back on top. Only another 1,000,000 trash cans to go. I climb back into the cab and head off down the road. The truck is older than I am, with a busted radio and a tape deck that might work? I wouldn't know, because I can't think of anyone who still uses cassettes. Didn't we all decide to switch to CDs a couple of years ago? Oh, it's even farther now, Eve. The occasional car passes by, more of them going in the opposite direction of me. Good. It's one less person to deal with. I empty the next trash can and then keep going. This one goes better, and I manage not to spill anything on myself. At this rate, I'll probably be done by lunchtime. Haven't even been driving for 2 minutes before I spot a glimmer of green plastic nudged against a bush. Sighing, I pull over.
Couldn't wait until the trash can, huh? Just had to ditch it right now.
Honestly, it's not emptying the trash that bugs me. It's the inherent laziness that people seem to have built into them. Sure, they might initially feel a tinge of guilt, but they'll never think about that piece of trash again. They'll never think about how many years it'll take for the plastic to decompose, or the bird that'll choke on it. No, people will continue to live their lives, content to watch their nature documentaries while occasionally crying when a polar bear drowns. That's their good deed for the year. After all, there's nothing they can do about it. They're just one person, right? I mean, like, yeah, like, there are things you can do, you know, you can donate to certain places that, you know, or you can volunteer with some places that help, you know, clean up, like, nature preserves and parks and stuff. But sometimes, yeah, you are just one person. And sometimes, you know, you don't have all the options available to help. Yeah, it's laziness, all right. And laziness is harmless until you realize it's just another form of selfishness. Savior syndrome detected? No, it's not savior syndrome. She knows she's just as bad as most people. She's just really angry. And she's all really jaded. And given the kind of people we've been shown in this story who go to the parks, I'd be tempted to agree and say she's right. Without bothering to put on gloves, I slam the offending bottle into the back with the rest of its brethren before resuming my journey. I can only pray that it eventually gets recycled. I'd like to see Yosemite's justification for something like this. It's not my job to teach people why they shouldn't litter, because I'm not a third-grade science teacher. It's apathy, plain and simple. And you can't educate apathy away. Every now and then, there's the occasional camper who means well and just needs a push in the right direction. But for every one of those campers, there's 10 more waiting in line for that nature documentary. Ironically enough, Yosemite misses the forest for the trees. Does she know just how many people lose their footing and fall off cliffs in these parks? If they can't even take care of themselves, then how can anyone expect them to take care of the land? Just ahead, I see an aluminum can lying lonesome in some underbrush. I pull over and dig it out. Shocker, it's an empty can of beer. The coloring is faded by the sun, meaning it's been out here for a while. I just toss it in the back.
Not even a good brand.
By noon, I'm just about done. There's still a handful of trash cans left to deal with, and then I'm free. My arms are sore from all the hauling and lifting I've done, and I'm probably going to smell like garbage for a week. If nothing else, at least it's quiet. I lean back and stretch, soaking in the sun as it warms my face. Something rustles in the bushes behind me. Before I can turn around, my vision goes black as someone covers my face with their hands.
Guess who?
Gee, I wonder. At least there isn't any time to be concerned.
Yellowstone.
Oh, shucks. Was it that obvious?
I know your voice, so yes.
You're lucky you have a distinctive voice, or else you'd be unconscious right now.
A heavy breeze rushes around us. Even though the jig is up, she doesn't take her hands away.
You're such a grump, Eve. Don't you ever lighten up a little?
No, she doesn't.
Firstly, no. Secondly, I'm pretty sure someone coming up out of nowhere and latching onto my face is a good reason to be annoyed.
But we're friends.
To emphasize, she squeezes me a little tighter. At the same time, the breeziness intensifies. It's like she's holding me in a wind tunnel. An electrical hum buzzes around us. The truck, maybe? Or nearby power line?
Don't push it. Are you going to let go or not?
Oh, right. Ta-da!
She finally lifts her hands and I turn around to face her.
Seriously, though, don't do that again. I meant it when I said that if I hadn't heard it was you, I would have knocked you out. Wouldn't be the first time. And beside that...
I stop short, staring past Yellowstone's unrepentant-looking face, only to realize something. I have no idea where we are. The truck is gone. The familiar trees and bushes have been replaced by different trees and bushes.
Beside that, where the hell are we?
We're home.
In Yellowstone. She stretches her arms wide as she can, presenting the grand view of wherever she dragged me to. I glare at her, waiting for her to just come out and say it.
Well, I guess it's only home for me.
She clears her throat and steps back. Again, she sprawls her arms out like a soaring eagle and presents me with the view, like she's waiting for me to clap.
Welcome back to Yellowstone National Park, the prettiest place on the planet.
Instead of clapping, I cross my arms and gaze around. This must be where she took me the night we first met. Now that I'm not being dangled over a ledge in certain death, I get a bit more time to appreciate the view. We're standing near the base of a tall mountain that I recognize from years' worth of pictures and postcards, Mount Washburn. Vast forests cover huge swaths of land. Lodgepole pines are by far the most common tree. Not only do they grow from the earth, but a defiant few sprout up from the rocks themselves. Velvety green grass blankets the lesser hills and slopes nearby.
You're right about it being pretty, at least.
Ain't it? The whole park is swell, but this trail is the bee's knees.
She's not just using, like, modernish slang, she's also using just the oldest slang ever. She puts her hands on her hips and surveys the land like a proud mom. Maybe that isn't inaccurate. If Yosemite's little fire fever is anything to go by, I guess Yellowstone has a similar connection to her park, too.
When I was out earlier, I kept thinking about how I wanted to swing by and visit for a bit. And not too long, of course, because I know Yosemite won't ever pipe down if I don't finish her laundry, but...
Yellowstone trails off, a frown breaking her cheerful facade. 2 hummingbirds buzz around us and brush their long beaks against each other as if kissing before flying off into the trees. A small smile wiggles its way back onto her face.
But I figured a little break can't hurt. Usually I go hiking with Zion, but since we're bunk buddies now, I figured, what the hey, and decided to bring you along instead.
Since we're bunk buddies now, not by choice.
Lucky me. So, where have you been all day, then?
Oh, you know, a little here, a little there. I needed some fresh air after everything this morning.
Hydrate? Okay.
Yeah, I think I still have shards of coffee mugs stuck in my boots.
Sorry about that. I'm just so... I'm at my wit's end, Eve. I've always been the one to do the cooking and the cleaning and the laundrying and everything.
Oh, sweetie.
I alphabetize Yosemite's books and make sure they end up back on the shelf. Even before you moved in, I was the one keeping the cabin spick and span, making sure Yosemite had a comfy reading space, taking care of Zion's hair.
I get it. You do everything around the place.
I do, absolutely, positively, but all I ever hear is laundry this and tea time that.
I love the pout face. I know she's, like, you know, airing some very valid grievances, but that pouty face is so fucking cute. Yellowstone puffs out her cheeks and looks stern in what I think is supposed to be her best Yosemite impression.
Yellowstone, why haven't you done the 10 things I already asked you to do? I've got 5 more that need to be done right now.
I roll my eyes and try to keep myself from chuckling. Couldn't have done it better myself, kid.
So fight back. Tell Yosemite to shove it or something. Tell her you don't want to do all her chores anymore. That'd be more productive than just throwing a tantrum about it.
It's not that I don't want to do it. I like being useful and all. It's just that a little bit more gratitude would be nice, you know? I'm working my tush off for her, but it's crystal clear that she doesn't care about that. In fact...
She glances over her shoulder, then leans in and cups her hand over her mouth, as if Yosemite might plummet down from the heavens and catch her in the act.
I'm starting to think that maybe she even has it out for me.
Oh, stop it.
That girl has it out for everybody.
Rude, but maybe not wrong.
But this is different. She was downright mean this morning. It's been like that more and more lately.
Well, if you aren't going to stand up for yourself, then you're pretty much just asking for it.
No?
Why can't you cut me some slack? I was kind of hoping for some compassion here.
You should have asked Zion.
Sorry to burst your bubble, but if you're not going to make a change, then all you're doing is blowing off the job people rely on you to do.
That's the thing, though. I'm starting...
I detect the faintest hint of a voice crack.
I'm starting to wonder if it's even worth it. Yosemite is a real pretty place, and I love living with the other gals. I'll always have Yellowstone the park, but taking care of the cabin makes Yellowstone the me really happy. A place to belong, you know?
Oh.
But if no one at that place appreciates you, then it makes you wonder if you really do belong there.
Smoke or steam, I'm not sure which, rises from the crater in her head. She sighs and gazes past me at the empty wilderness. But even emptier than that is the look in her eyes. I wonder how many mornings I've dragged myself back to the mirror only to see that same exhausted stare reflecting back at me.
Look, kid, I get you. I really do. About wondering if it's worth it and all. But I have to know, why me? You said you usually bring Zion along, right? Why not just ask her instead?
'Cause she is a baby. Yellowstone gives a sad smile, but nonetheless tries to force the cheer out of herself, straining her voice until she sounds only slightly miserable.
I already told you that, silly. I thought you could use a break too. It'll be great. We can tell stories, swap gossip, talk about boys. You know, girl stuff.
Boys. Pfft. Not in this game.
I'm not into a single one of those things.
Heyo.
Well, feel free to start walking back to Yosemite if you want. It's a bit under 1,000 miles by foot, so you better get a move on.
Yellowstone's great. Holy shit. This little brat, I swear I'm going... Before I can bring myself to wring her neck, I get an idea. So instead, I turn around and simply start walking.
Cool. I'll take my chances.
Can the kid teleport? Yeah, that's how they got there. They went from Yosemite National Park to Yellowstone, which I think are two different, very vastly different spots on the U.S. map. I don't know anything about U.S. national parks, so I couldn't really tell you the geography of it. Like, that's how they got here in the first place, was that Yellowstone was just like, I'm gonna go up from behind you, do the Guess Who thing, cover your eyes, but while I'm covering your eyes... Yeah, that doesn't help me. I don't know where the fuck Wyoming is. I'm not from the U.S. It's not gonna click with me.
Wait! Hold on a sec!
I freeze and try to hide my grin. No wonder Yosemite is such an ego. Being the smartest person in the room must be addicting.
The truth is, I brought you along because I felt like I could trust you. There, I said it.
Aww. Genuine shock wipes the smirk right off my face. Maybe I'm not as smart as I thought.
Huh? But why?
It's silly, but...
Her eyes shift to the ground. She bashfully kicks the dirt around her.
When you complimented my flapjacks the other day, it made me really happy. Like, golly, someone finally appreciates something I'm doing. And then when you took charge and put out that fire, it just... I don't know, it made me like you even more. It's like you really know what you're doing.
I would say she does.
I'm probably just being stupid, huh?
Neither of us say anything. In fact, I'm almost tempted to keep it that way and have her take me back. But there's something about this sad volcano girl that I just can't turn away. How many times over the years have I been at my breaking point, just one little step from going off the deep end? How many times have I been blown off and told to suck it up when all I wanted was to vent? And where has that gotten me? Finally, I give a long, defeated sigh. Yellowstone better thank her lucky stars that her pancakes are good.
Tell you what, kid.
Gonna head to bed early?
Promise.
Hope
and
you feel
I
better
mean
soon, dude.
Promise to take me home in time to finish up with the rest of the trash in the park. And I'll hike around with you for a few hours.
Yellowstone perks up, and for the first time, I notice how her volcano cuts through the air when she makes sudden movements.
You mean it? Cross your heart and hope to die?
She flings herself at me, stopping just shy of our noses touching. I can feel the heat emanating from her head in waves.
Stick 1,000 needles in your eye?
Yellowstone, what the fuck?
Yes. Now, get out of my face before I plug your volcano with a rock.
She skips forward, backpack bouncing cheerily on her shoulders. Even if she hadn't just spent 10 minutes talking my ear off about it, it would be easy to see just how much she's been looking forward to this. Finally notices the volcano. Are you talking about you or Eve?
Oh, you won't regret this, Evo. Me and
Evo.
you are gonna have a blast. We're gonna hike and do
You
more hiking, and then after we take it easy for a bit, we can hike even more.
Not so fast, Mountaineer.
I yank on her backpack and reel her back in.
What about that thing on your head? We'll have a lot of explaining to do if someone sees you.
No sweat.
Oh, that's the italics. Ah, okay. With a flourish, she slides her backpack off and rifles through it for just a second. Then she stands up, back up, triumphant.
Ta-da!
If it works, it works. It's a soft hat. She stretches it taut over her volcano, covering it perfectly. Now it just looks like she has a really big head. Which is true.
I guess that's an improvement.
Groovy! Now let's beat feet!
That one I've never heard before. I can only assume she means let's go, so I motion my hand forward and let her lead. She skips ahead and starts on the trail, humming to herself and twirling to the music in her head.
Just promise you'll take me home early, please. I'm about overdue for an earful from Jessie, and I don't want to risk it now.
You're such a worrywart, dollface. Just hang back and smell the roses for a bit.
Again, why are you forcing the Jersey accent out of nowhere, Yellowstone? As she skips further ahead on the trail, I see her hand inch below her backpack, almost hidden. Maybe it's my imagination, but for a brief second, it looks like her fingers are crossed.
This'll be a walk in the park.
Literally, a. The pace Yellowstone sets is excruciatingly slow. Sometimes it feels like we're not even moving at all. I sometimes have to march ahead, hitting a steady stride just so I can keep myself warm among the dusting of snow that decorates our surroundings. It forms mushy mud puddles in parts of the trail, but in others the path is so well trodden that the snow is gone entirely. Sometimes Yellowstone will dart off the road to inspect a soggy plant or peculiar rock along the way. She'll kneel down, humming to herself, gently touching the object of her curiosity like a scientist. Yeah, but it comes off more as New Jersey. Is she ageless? I believe so. I believe they're ageless. Like, they don't know a lot about themselves. So, like, and they also don't know when they were created or anything. So I don't know. I'm going to assume yes. During these moments, I force myself to stop and admire the flora and fauna with her. Cold be damned, it's been a hot minute, or two, since I've been within spitting distance of Yellowstone. May as well enjoy some of it, regardless of the circumstances.
Say, Eve?
Content, I move along from the ice-crusted bush I was looking at and continue on the trail. Like my shadow, Yellowstone falls in lockstep beside me.
I was wondering, what made you want to become a ranger?
Easy. I like nature, and I like the parks. Wanted a job that would let me be around both. Had my mind set on it since I was a kid.
Well, after that awkward veterinarian phase, but let's not talk about that.
Then why are you so grouchy about having to do it?
You sure don't beat around the bush, do you?
Well, yeah. Most folks stop listening if I ramble too long. Cut to the chase is what Yosemite always says.
At least that's one good piece of advice that bookworm has.
It's not that I'm grouchy about having to do my job. I just don't like having to deal with people or their messes.
So, you don't like talking to people then?
Bingo.
I wonder if she'll get it. She gets quiet and we drift apart a little bit. My pace stays the same, but Yellowstone starts to lag behind. Not stopping, but not keeping up. I can hear her clomp along behind me. Then her footsteps quicken to catch back up.
Are there any rangers that do have to talk more?
Plenty.
I start to pick up the pace a little. Yellowstone lags behind again, but soon enough she's right by my side again.
What do they do?
Nothing but talk. Kind of like you.
Oh, come on, be nice. My mind immediately shifts to Jessie. I'm pretty sure the first thing that woman does when she wakes up is talk. Probably the last thing she does before sleeping, too. If she's not working, then she is almost certainly chatting.
And what do you do?
Answer your questions?
Not incorrect. Yellowstone giggles as if I told a funny joke. Unfortunately for her, I'm not laughing.
I mean, what do you really do, silly? You're always buzzing around like a worker bee, but it seems like you're doing something new every day.
It's not enough to kidnap me, she has to torture me too. I glance back at her. Even though I'm brushing her off, her smile is radiant and genuine as she waits for me to respond. Okay, maybe torture is a bit too strong of a word. At the very least, she's not a nagging busybody like some other parks I know.
If you have to know, I'm basically law enforcement. If someone screws up, I'm who they call to take care of it.
So you're like a forest cop.
Damn it, Eve! All cops are bastards. I guess that includes park rangers.
Not too far off, actually. Got training just like any other cop. Only difference is I did it on the federal level.
I feel a spring in my step as my long-dormant pride briefly swells up inside of me.
So how come you gotta take out the trash?
And then it's gone again.
Because at the end of the day, I'm a glorified janitor. Also, it's the park service. No one just does one thing.
But the other rangers do different things?
Sure. Some of us are tour guides that show visitors around the park. Other folks go do outreach programs at school. That kind of thing.
You don't do any of that, though.
Says who? I've given more than my fair share of lectures to bored middle schoolers, thanks.
The little gremlins usually pile into Yosemite on field trips. It was exciting the first couple of times. I thought I might have a chance to really connect with those kids. But after a while, it just became more and more obvious that none of them had an interest in the outdoors. Just video games and internet celebrities. It ended up working out since I lost my interest in them, too.
Though at this point, I don't think they want me talking to anybody.
Aw, that's not true. You're doing just swell talking to me.
You must be pretty desperate for conversation if you think so.
Believe me, I am.
Aw, poor thing. She says it with a cheerful, wholly unironic grin. Still, she quiets down again and we carry on our trek. When I'm not being distracted with chatter, it's easy to enjoy the experience. Just like Yosemite, the park isn't too crowded, with the snow and ice cold keeping away all but the most determined sightseers. The visitation rate will spike next month, once it starts getting warmer. But for now, there aren't too many people around to ruin it. We do get passed by the occasional backpacker or hiker, usually going in the other direction. Without fail, Yellowstone greets them with a chirpy hi or a wave. I do my best to avoid eye contact and ignore them. A light breeze carries some old snow with it, enough to make me shiver and wrap my arms around myself. It's only going to get colder the higher we go. Rather than strike up another conversation, instead Yellowstone starts to whistle. She cycles through a number of folk songs as well as several melodies I don't recognize. Eventually, she settles on "I've been working on the railroad," repeating its distinctive refrain over and over until I'm sure that even the birds will be singing it for days. After we've been walking for 30 minutes or so, I notice a familiar sight up ahead near the edge of the trail. I veer off in its direction, with Yellowstone watching curiously.
What'd you find?
I kneel down and pick up the item in question, holding it so she can see my prize. It's a paper wrapper from a dollar menu cheeseburger. Someone must have been carrying this one around for a while, since we're pretty deep in the park.
Garbage. Left behind by walking garbage. I'll throw it away at the next trash can.
I'm glad that I kept my gloves on before Yellowstone abducted me. They let me ignore the congealed cheese that hangs loose from the trash. Ugh.
Gross. You're the bee's knees for cleaning up the place, though.
Thanks.
Her never-ending use of outdated slang is something I've gotten used to tuning out. At least I know what bee's knees means. Not too much later, I spot an abandoned park map fluttering uselessly in the breeze. When I snatch it out of the air, it's speckled with mud. The date on the attached receipt is from several days ago. I crumple it into a ball and carry it alongside the burger wrapper.
More trash?
Of course. It's all over the place if you look for it.
And after spotting the first piece, I can't help but look for it. With every step we take, my eyes scan the trail for more litter. Before long, my hands are both full. When we finally reach a trash can where I can offload everything, I sigh with relief. I'm gonna need to take the longest shower of my life once I'm home. With a whoop and a cheer, Yellowstone dashes over to the low wood railing that turns this spot into a small observational point.
Take a gander at that, Eve. Ain't it grand?
It is.
I can't help but be impressed by the sprawling forest that dominates the horizon. No matter which direction I turn, the view could be a postcard.
You know, we can go anywhere in the park whenever you want. Just say the word.
Anywhere?
Yep, top of the mountain, bottom of the mountain, the entrance, the exit, even in the middle of nowhere. That's because it's me. It's the same for Zion and Yosemite, too. The girls, I mean.
But only around the park?
That's right.
A worrying thought crosses my mind.
And you can take us back home, right? You aren't just trying to pull a fast one on me, are you?
Of course. That's how we got back last time.
Last time? Are you telling me that I was dangling off a cliff in Yellowstone National Park?
She didn't understand that at the time, but I did.
Ah, come on. You didn't die.
Low bar.
That doesn't make me feel any better.
Yellowstone giggles. I'm glad she finds my near-death experience entertaining. Maybe she can finish the job next time.
I'll let you in on a little secret.
Oh, goody.
You know that painting back in the cabin? The gorgeous one with the view from the top of Mount Washburn?
They're all gorgeous, but sure.
Well, that's like home base. As long as it's in a cabin, I can go right back there.
Ah, so they're anchored to the paintings.
Although, if you moved the painting, I'd have to go there instead.
Sounds like there's a lot of arbitrary rules.
Right? It makes my head spin. But it's like Yosemite always says, linear thinking won't...
Get you anywhere, I know. She's given me the lecture.
Sounds like her, all right. She always yaks about the same thing over and over.
She does it because she thinks it'll make her sound smart. Now, let's keep going.
The view is gorgeous, there's no denying that. If I could, I'd stay here for a week, exploring and poking around. But I have to get home. They'd never hear the end of it from Jessie if she found me shirking my duties.
Roger that.
We start back up the trail. The next stretch of trail is devoid of litter, fortunately. It must be the close proximity to the bin. My moment of relief is short-lived, though. There's still plenty of reminders of how careless park visitors are, like the initial scratched into one of the trees by the road. I stop and glare at the offending carving.
Nobody knows or cares who you were, PT.
I'm probably the only person in the world who will give a second thought to the marking, and I'm sure it's not for the reason they intended. Yellowstone peers around my shoulder to see what I'm looking at.
You sure don't miss a thing.
Can't help it, as much as I'd like to sometimes.
I'm doomed to notice each and every blemish and imperfection. Just like Yosemite with its problems and stories, I'm sure Yellowstone, the park, has its fair share of stories too. Except, just like the initials carved into the tree, nobody cares what they have to say.
Why do you think people are like that?
I turn back around to face Yellowstone. She bounces from one foot to another, unable to sit still even when we're not walking.
You really are full of questions today.
Oh, not just today. Pretty much every day. Except usually Yosemite just stops answering.
Sounds like her. Anyway, as to why they're like this, I guess it's because they're selfish. They don't think about what they're doing or what it costs nature. They just want something, so they take it. They're like...
I look off into the distance, struggling to find the right comparison. And then the answer dances its way into my memory.
They're like a wildfire. They just come in and destroy everything. Doesn't matter if they burn the entire place down. All that matters is that they get their kicks. And then they just spread, consuming and destroying.
Like wildfire.
Yellowstone looks mystified by the comparison, her eyes glazing over and then widening.
I don't think that's fair, though, you know? They're people with thoughts and feelers. Wildfire can't do that.
Feelers.
I guess. That's beside the point, though. It was just a comparison. Besides, doesn't it bother you? Seems like this should get on your nerves just as much as mine. After all, you live here. Or are here, or something.
Well, I don't like it, you're right. But it comes with the territory. I'd rather deal with it than have nobody come see me. See the park, I mean.
Even though they don't respect you? Or the park?
Not everything's about respect, Eve. Sometimes you just gotta have fun.
To emphasize, she flashes a peace sign at me. The epitome of fun.
I don't think every person who leaves behind some trash is a bad person. They're just people who made a teensy tiny mistake. If you help them out, maybe they won't make that mistake again next time. Little bit of talking and working together, and who knows? You might end up being great pals and doing great things together. Just imagine if you hadn't compromised with Yosemite back at the cabin. We'd have never gotten to know each other like this.
Yeah, and I'd be safe and sound back at home doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Exactly, and that's no fun.
I'm pretty sure that's not where she was going with that Yellowstone, but sure. She says it with a smug tone of voice, like she's just proved some great point rather than missing it entirely. I roll my eyes. I don't know if Yellowstone's being willfully ignorant or what. It completely baffles me that she's not bothered by the way the park is treated. For someone who threw a tantrum and ran away because she felt like she was unappreciated, she's awfully eager to forgive the good people and assume they have the best intentions. I can't just let this go. She'll thank me for it later.
You're still being naive. When it comes to nature, people will just keep making compromise after compromise until there's nothing left. Rainforests, ice caps, endangered species, all these things are being wiped out because of compromises. Either you make people understand the truth, or you give up on them. Because most aren't worth the time or effort. They're never going to learn or care. And that's 90% of the people that you see out here.
What about the other 10%, though?
What about them?
If you can help even that 10%, doesn't that make it worth it? Sometimes they just need someone to teach them the right thing to do.
Oh god, not her too.
I'll bet you most of those 10% would be happy to have someone show them the ropes so they can do better next time. As long as there's someone to do it.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm immediately done with the conversation. I just give her a flat answer so that we can move on. I really don't need to hear the same lecture twice in a day. It's obvious that Yosemite's drilled the same nonsense into Yellowstone's head that she tried to pass on to me. I think that it would have been Yellowstone who made Yosemite think that. Instead, I try to just focus on the hike again, push the distractions out of my head, keep my attention focused on the top of Mount Washburn instead of the imperfections that we pass by. It doesn't work very well, but I refrain from mentioning it or picking up more. If Yellowstone doesn't care, then I'll let it be someone else's problem. Someone else's story. Between the garbage, the vandalism, and now the lecture, pretty much any enjoyment I was getting out of the trip has evaporated. It seems like every day of my life I'm doomed to hear the same meandering criticism about how it's my fault that idiots are idiots. To her credit, Yellowstone stays quiet for now, but I'm sure it's just a temporary reprieve. I'm proven right when we round another bend in the path. Up ahead, a group of hikers are heading towards us. They've all got huge backpacks and gear. They look like backcountry hikers, probably doing some dispersed camping. As they get closer, they wave at us and I'll say hello. I manage a stiff nod, but keep walking. Yellowstone, on the other hand,
Hi there, everyone. How y'all doing today?
is totally distracted.
Well, hey there. We're doing just great. Yep, how about you?
Just came down the mountain. Had a drink and a snack. Oh, you two are in for a treat once you get up there.
I wonder if we'll see the evidence of their drink and a snack left behind.
Oh, the view is so good, isn't it? I could just live up here.
'Cause you probably do.
Yep, same. It was gorgeous.
I keep walking in the hopes that Yellowstone will get the hint and catch up. But I'm not that lucky. She might not even notice that I'm leaving her behind. So I drag my feet and haul myself over next to her.
So you three are pretty geared up. Those bags look pretty spiffy. Staying overnight.
We are. Yep, just gotta find a spot.
We're doing the backwoods thing.
Alright, so they have a British guy.
Back country.
Whoa, that sounds like so much fun. Maybe my friend and I should give that a try sometime.
Absolutely not.
The five of them laugh like they think I'm joking.
Oh, guess we should introduce ourselves. I'm Russ. Yep.
Jakey, that's Clara, and that's Croc.
The other two both wave as they're introduced. No way out of this, I guess.
I'm Eve. And this...
Yellowstone looks at me with eager eyes, probably hoping for a cool alias.
is Yellow. Yeah, her name is Yellow.
Instant disappointment. But with someone called Croc, it's not like she's got the strangest name here.
So, how are you guys liking the park so far?
Great so far. We've been here for 2 days, and we've got another 2 days to go.
They have names, but no sprites. My important character detector is out of whack. I blame it on Yellowstone. She's changing the narrative.
It's good. Never visited before.
It's the cat's meow! What other stuff have you seen?
Well, we started at Hayden Valley, then came up this way.
We passed by Grand Canyon too. Yep.
Croc didn't realize it's not the Grand Canyon.
Easy mistake. She's real nice too. What kind of gear have you got? Looks like a real heavy load.
Hold on.
Aren't your backs just about to give out from lugging all that around?
Hold on. That implies that, yes, there is a Great Canyon person who is apparently also very nice.
Honestly, yes. I just want to fall over and sleep forever.
I think that's Maddie from Heart of the Woods.
Have to find a campsite first. We've got all the essentials with us, though. Tent, blankets, food, stove, flashlights.
Roughing it as much as we can.
Don't fucking yawn. Wait, did that guy say they don't have a campsite yet?
Wow, you can fit all that in there?
Sure can. Bit of a pain to take with us, like you said, but it gets the job done.
I hope you guys can take a break soon.
Ha! Me too!
We're actually looking for a spot right now. Trying to find something close by.
Going back up the mountain in the morning. Yep.
Russ likes saying, yep.
Oh, I wonder if I know of anywhere good close by.
She taps a finger on her lips as she pivots around, scanning the area.
You know this place pretty well then.
Like the back of my hand.
It'd be good to find somewhere with a bit of cover from the wind. In case the tank crashes again.
Wait, crashes?
All five of them, including Yellowstone, flinch at my words like they forgot I was there. Maybe they did. 10 eyes turn to look at me. Crap, why did I have to speak up?
Yeah, during the middle of the night it just sorta caved in.
Right on our heads, yep.
Yep. I notice him eyeing my badge warily. I wonder if he's been doing it this whole time. Hope he doesn't connect the dots and figure out I don't actually work in this park.
Sounds like you must have staked it out wrong.
I told you.
She hits one of the others in the arm. Makes a poof sound against his light jacket.
Yeah, the videos made it look a lot easier.
At least he has the good sense to look embarrassed.
It's kind of been one thing after the other, to be honest. First, we got lost on our way to the mountain. Then we got the car stuck in the mud for a while.
She rambles on for a good couple minutes, listing of all the things that have gone wrong since they left home. Forgotten supplies, mixed up trails, and more. Internally, I'm rolling my eyes the entire time. At a glance, it looked like they were well prepared, but of course it turns out that I gave them too much credit. Finally, when she mentions how they were considering doing the hike without extra water, I reach my breaking point.
Okay, that's enough.
Clara stops mid-ramble. She could give Yellowstone a run for her money when it comes to chatting.
The four of you sound like you're not prepared to be out here at all. You're lucky to have made it this long. It can get well below freezing here at night. You don't know how to pitch a tent. You don't know how to pack. Did you do any research at all before you came into the park?
All four of them are stone silent, their eyes wide.
This is the wilderness. There's a lot of empty land out there. Just because it's a park doesn't mean that someone's gonna find you right away if you're in trouble. You need to learn some respect for nature, because nature doesn't give a damn about you.
They're all still cowed into silence. Even Yellowstone looks a little embarrassed. I might have been a little bit harsh, but it's better than going too easy on them. One of the hikers finally nods.
We understand.
Yep.
Sorry.
Maybe we should just cut the trip a bit short.
The look of dejection spreads from one to another like a plague. Jakey starts to sag under the weight of his backpack, like it just got a whole lot heavier.
Hey now, that's quitter talk.
Yellowstone. Yellowstone leaps in between the group and me, trying to salvage the situation.
Eve's a bit of a grouch, but she's just trying to say that you should be more careful next time. You don't have to give up and go home. You just gotta do better.
Well, she kind of made it sound like we're going to die a horrible death out here.
I mean, I was more wishful thinking.
Not if we can help it. Right, Eve?
What?
She's like, you're involving me?
You folks said you're still looking for a spot to hit the hay, right? What if we help out a little and give you a couple pointers?
Would you really? I mean, that'd be great, but it's a lot to ask.
Absolutely.
Hey, Yellow, I don't...
My protests fall on deaf ears. I've already been volunteered. Or as I like to say, voluntold.
Can you help us with our campfire too?
Oh my god. They would have died. Yellowstone looks at me expectantly. I sigh again. I've been doing that a lot since we got here.
Not like I have much of a choice.
It's better than letting them burn the whole place down. The last thing I want to deal with is another forest fire.
Hooray!
And just like that, I'm dragged into Yellowstone's shenanigans.
So then, what you're gonna wanna do is slide these suckers in. Aha!
Sounded like a little gremlin. I can't bear to watch. I can't look away either.
And from there, you gotta... Wait, that's not right.
Actually, crap. Hang on a second. I gotta take care of something real quick. I'll be back in, like, 2 minutes. Whew, sorry about that. My chair decided it wanted to not be stable, and I needed to fix that, or else it was going to end up being very painful. Okay. This is embarrassing. Pitiful, even.
Just a jiff, I think. Okay, I think I cracked the code. All you gotta do is step over here and lift this up and...
They're kids? I didn't realize they were kids. Although the guy in the vest and with the sandwich could easily be an adult. I don't know. The fabric of the tent tugs up beneath Yellowstone's boot. She face plants onto the ground cloth. Half the tent. Hang on. She face plants onto the ground cloth. Half of the tent yanked along behind her. There's a thud, and when it's all said and done, she's tangled and entombed within the tent. A volcano burrito.
You alive?
There's no answer. For a moment, I think I might have to dive in and save her like a drowning dog, but that distinct cone shape wiggles its way through. Yellowstone gasps for air as her head pops to the surface, then breaks into breathy laughter.
Whew, what a tumble! But at least we know what doesn't work now.
I pinch the bridge of my nose until it feels like it might snap. The campers just look on at my side. Clara and Jakey with genuine sprinklings of concern on their faces. Russ and the other guys stare with amazed wonderment, as if they're actually witnessing the correct way to pitch a tent. They aren't.
If you're going to offer your help to someone, you should at least know how to actually do that thing.
And I do. Just gotta refresh the old memory and it'll be easy peasy.
She curls her fingers into an OK sign. Somehow, I'm not reassured.
It's all good. Once we have this tent and fire all set up, this place is gonna look dope AF.
Oh no. The other three cringe, wearing various shades of disgust. Something I imagine I'd be doing if I had any idea what it meant. Dope is like cool, right? So what does AF mean? Affirmative? Whatever it means, Yellowstone immediately takes a shine to it. Oh no. They said pitch a tent, Beavis. Her head perks up and she gazes off into the distance.
Dope AF.
Oh, I know. I know what dope AF is. Oh no.
Dope AF.
Oh no.
Dope AF. Dope AF. Dope AF. Dope AF.
Yellowstone, sweetie, no. She spouts it off over and over, grooving along to the rhythm of her voice. I love Yellowstone so much. She's such a delight. All four of the hikers throw me worried glances. If only they knew this was the least strange part of Yellowstone.
Should I have not said that?
There's no closing this Pandora's box, Liz.
Liz?
Oh, it's Grok, actually.
Must be how she picks up on all that slang she throws around. No wonder it's so all over the place.
Sorry about our friend being so lame. We really appreciate your help, though. It's insane how quickly you were able to get this place all set up.
We were pretty much just winging it up until now.
They don't sound like the literal children that they look like here. It's like when a child learns a new swear. Can confirm.
Yeah, I could tell.
They all dodge eye contact with me except for Clara, who shrinks into herself, looking hurt. Okay, that might have been a bit too harsh. Again. They haven't done anything yet. As far as campers go, they could be a lot worse. I didn't even spot a single can of beer when I was sorting through their food. They might not know what a bear bag is, but they aren't bad kids.
It's fine. Everyone has to start somewhere.
Wait, what the
Rather
fuck is
you
a bear
learn the
bag?
right way than try to fail at it yourselves.
What the fuck is a bear bag? Clara chuckles, the validation seeming to lift her spirits. It's a reminder that it might not hurt to be a little more patient with them.
At least we know how to dig a cat hole, yep.
Only a little. A bear bag? Yeah, that's what Eve mentioned. She's like, they don't know what a bear bag is, but, like, their food was alright. Or something. I take a moment to scan the area and admire my handiwork. They were ready to call it a day, so I went ahead for them. A nice flat clearing not too far off the trail. Trees surrounded the makeshift hideout like a natural fort. Maybe a type of bag for preventing bears stealing your food in your sleep, or something to distract the bear is what I'm thinking of. Like, this is the bag that is the designated, like, you know, this is the bait for the bear, and then he'll leave the rest of our shit alone. Oh, you put your food in it, there's a rope attached to it, you throw over a high tree branch so the bear can't reach it. Bears can climb trees! Trees surround the makeshift hideout like a natural fort. Poking between the leaves, the ranger lookout sits perched on a hill like a prison guard. Unknown to even Yellowstone, this was intentional on my part. Just a precautionary measure in case of any emergencies. Aside from choosing the campsite, I've gone ahead and set up their lawn chairs. It's a small detail, but I positioned them to so that they're facing the trail. That way, if anyone wakes up in the middle of the night, they can go stargazing without any trees blocking the way. Aw, that's nice. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like a tire swing. Bears can't fly. They can't fly yet! Of course, the only reason those sorts of details are so fresh in my head is because I had so much time to kill during my suspension. Nothing like mandatory leave to get you to reconnect with nature. Before that, the last time I went solo camping by myself was... well, I guess it was before I joined the Park Service. Makes me wonder how much of myself I've given to this job. And if I were to quit tomorrow, how much of me, the actual me, not Ranger Adams, would be left? It's scary to think about how tied my sense of self is with this job. I whine and moan about it all the time, but if I weren't a ranger, then I have no idea what I would be. Would I be nothing? Hell, would the world even keep existing? So many years devoted to dreaming about this job, just as many devoted to I'm guessing loathing it. But in both cases, I was always devoted.
Okie dokie, enough chit-chat. I'm gonna try to set this bad boy up again, and this time it'll be dopey!
Nope, absolutely not. I've stood here and watched you stumble your way through this long enough.
I'm doing it. Oh, I think you did a good job, Yellowstone. Watched Yellowstone try to set up a tent. Yellowstone springs from the heap of the tent, only for me to push her aside and take a knee.
Look, you didn't even put the poles through the grommets.
Oh, is that what they are? I just call them hole thingies.
Same. I know how to put up a tent. I don't know what all the parts are called.
Okay, you're officially banned from pitching this tent.
If anyone should know how to pitch a tent, it should be the spirit of a national park.
Just keep doing what you are now.
But I'm not doing anything! Nothing! Nada!
And you're doing such a good job at it, sweetie.
Quick puffs of smoke wheeze above her as she pouts, straining through the fabric of her hat. Doesn't matter how many hats she wears, if she can't control her emotions, then nothing is going to hide the things that come out of her head. That's the feller who lived with Wallace. Yeah, he's a good dog. There's a new Wallace and Gromit movie happening, and it's the fucking penguin thing is back. What was it? Feathers McGraw. I'm so happy about it. The Wrong Trousers was like one of my favorite movies as a kid. So like the fact that they're bringing back the fucking penguin is amazing.
Let's see, which one of you do I like the most? Clara.
That's beautiful.
Hey, how could you remember her name?
Because her name isn't an animal. I ignore iguana and gesture for Clara. Oh, apparently we're in Armored Core 6 now.
Get over here and help. I want to make sure at least one of you knows how this is done.
If anyone's gonna remember, it'll be Clara.
Yep.
My brain just kind of wings it most of the time, too.
Valid. Clara gives me an excited nod and scrambles over. She hovers over me and focuses in. It reminds me of Yosemite peering over and glancing at my journal when I'm writing.
I'll do my best.
If nothing else, at least she's motivated.
You see how I'm pushing this pole through the sleeve?
I slide the pole in and out of the thin sleeve that runs across the tent.
Do the same thing on the other side, after it's in the grommet. From there, we'll lift it up together. Got it?
Sounds like a plan.
That is 100% Maddie from Heart of the Woods. I know that voice. She skips to the other side and bends over. Diligently, she begins to slip the poles through the sleeves, matching them at the end with the color-coded tabs.
This is exciting! It's been such a long time since I've been camping like this. Like, actual camping.
It catches me a little off guard. Most people these days just go in their tin can motorhomes like that couple. I stop fiddling with the poles for a few seconds and glance over.
Oh yeah?
Uh-huh. We lived near a national forest, so my dad would take me camping out there during extra long weekends. 4th of July, Memorial Day, things like that.
I can't help but smirk a little as I slide the last sliver of the pole through. Maybe this kid isn't completely helpless.
Rugged outdoorsman, huh?
Oh my god, yes.
Lift.
We reach towards the middle of the tent and hoist it up at the same time. The poles act as a frame, giving the tent its modest round shape.
He was always doing something out there. I didn't know one man could spend so many hours fishing.
Reminds me of my old man. He and my brothers were the ones who got me into camping. To this day, roughing it and loving it is the family motto. You have the stakes?
That's one heck of a scary motto. Fun, though. Makes me wish I had kept up with all this. And yeah, they're right here.
She grabs a handful of stakes and the hammer from off the ground. The tent is looking shapely now. There's more simple stuff that needs doing, like putting the fly on, but staking it is the last big one.
Well, when you get home, you can tell him about how you outdid him at his own hobby.
Wish I could, but he died a few years back.
Oh. She doesn't even flinch while saying it. It's as cheerful and natural sounding as the rest of the conversation. So maybe that's why I turn into a stuttering mess.
Mind if I do this part? I think I remember how to now.
And maybe that's why I nod my head and agree with it. She bends back down and starts hammering the stakes into the soft soil between the straps of fabric at the end of the poles.
The anniversary is coming up, and between that and school being so tough, I guess I just wanted to feel closer to him.
How does someone answer that? Am I expected to? Within the time it takes to snap your fingers, it feels like my entire perspective of this girl has gone through a kaleidoscope of changes. It's not because her dad is dead. Not entirely, anyway. If anything, I think it's because she even has a dad. These people, the rowdy pains in my ass who don't care about anything but themselves, they have family. They have lives. Put those things together and you realize, sweet mother of God, these people have some sort of rationale and perspective. My breath catches in my throat. Why does that scare me so much?
All done. Hope it's all up to snuff.
Clara drops the hammer on the ground, presenting her achievement with a smile. Her friends and Yellowstone stand off to the side, oohing and awing at this most impressive of displays.
Looks pretty spiffy to me. You did a swell job. Don't you think so, Eve?
I shake myself out of it long enough to see an erected tent that isn't toppling over in the wind.
Oh, yeah. Keep it up, and you'll be a real pro.
I can put on the fly if one of y'all wants to set up the fire. Yep, I can.
Yep.
Me!
No. Yellowstone leaps up and down, volunteering herself to the cause. No one even has time to argue before she's sprinting over to the supplies.
I'm gonna go snag the lighter fluid!
No! That voice is the sound of chaos and trouble. It takes a while for the words to sink in and settle, but once they do, I chase after her.
Hold it! I'm preemptively banning you from building a fire! You're banned, got it? Banned!
Goodbye! Good luck! Good night!
Get blocked and reported? Oh, right, because banned. Yellowstone shouts into the distance. The 4 hikers-turned-campers wave goodbye the campfire I built for them, silhouetting their bodies in warm, flickering light.
Don't forget to drink lots of water! And be sure to bundle up!
As Yellowstone continues the spectacle of her farewell, I stand at her side, stiff as a statue.
Take care. Thanks for all your help.
I just got in, so that scene was funny. I might need to make a clip of that, and then, like, make that a thing for, like, you know, when someone gets banned. Clara cups her hands around her mouth and yells, the energy in her voice carrying it even further than Yellowstone's. Thanks. I raise my hand, and even though I'm moving now, it just still feels stiff. From this far away, I doubt she can tell, but I give a slight wave, just one, before turning around and starting back on the trail. It takes a while, but eventually I hear Yellowstone's footsteps shuffle behind me. Soon we're in lockstep with each other, hiking in silence as the sky dims to a deep orange. Don't you have to be back like a while ago? We're almost out of daylight here in Wyoming. I wonder how much light is left in California. Though, if I'm being honest with myself, finishing up with the trash couldn't be further from my mind at this point.
That sure was fun.
She looks up, gazing at the trees. The branches almost look like shadows in this light, stripped of their texture.
You don't think so?
I don't know what I think.
Except that's a lie. I felt something when we were helping out those hikers, but it wasn't fun. No, it was fear. Fear that I still might not be as hardened as I wish I were. Fear that maybe, in some way, I might be wrong.
Well, I had a swell time.
There's a somber tenderness in Yellowstone's voice, like the volume on her has been turned down.
All those pleases and thank yous, it was nice, you know? I wish it could be like that all the time.
Feels like a rock just sank to the pit of my stomach, and now it can only sit there while I dwell on it. What she wants is impossible. Most people aren't grateful, or even half interested. Every so often you'll get someone like Clara and her friends, but those are few and far between. For the most part, people are careless and destructive. They are, right? Because if they aren't, then this entire time I've been... 2 hikers pass us from the opposite direction, their hair matted from the gallons of sweat pouring out of them, but both smiling. Yellowstone gasps.
We're almost at the tip-top! Come on, Slowpoke!
There's no time for me to live up to my new mantle of Slowpoke, though. Yellowstone grabs my wrist and tugs me along behind her. My feet stumble over each other, struggling to match her pace.
Careful! You're gonna yank my arm out of my socket!
We stop.
Oh.
Below us, a sweeping valley of trees extends miles ahead, blanketing the earth with its greenery. It's cut off by a sheared cliff, a sudden drop that would swallow everything in darkness, if not for the sun's glowing orange reflecting off the rocks. And even beyond that, the park rolls off into the pink horizon, stretching on forever. All that anchors us here is the posted wooden sign. Mount Washburn. Elevation 10,243 feet.
Ain't it a sight for sore eyes?
Very sore.
You too, huh?
I glance down at Yellowstone. She glances up at me. For a long time, we stare at each other. The blue in Yellowstone's eyes almost looks gray, as if the color has been sucked from it, like how the color has been out of me. She's always so excitable, always so loud, so bouncy. There's not an off button on this girl, even when she's sleeping. In more ways than I can count, she's my polar opposite. So why does it feel like we're on the same wavelength right now? I rear myself away from and stare off into the distance, not looking at anything in particular.
Maybe.
Golly, you sure do have a lot of pride, Missy.
Don't assume things so much. You'll turn out like Yosemite.
Despite me being deathly serious, Yellowstone chuckles. She slides off her hat, revealing her volcano. It's a reminder that whatever she or the other two girls are, they aren't human. Not entirely.
You sure it's okay to take that off?
Yep. Folks usually don't come up here once it's dark.
Taking a knee, she wiggles out of her backpack and zips it open. Like a magician pulling tissue from their sleeve, she unfolds a checkered picnic blanket and lays it out on the ground.
Come on, take a load off. It's wild comfy.
Wild comfy. She pats the blanket. Dust comes flying off it in small plumes. Doesn't bother me, though. My aching feet need a rest, dust or no dust. I take Yellowstone up on her offer and plop down next to her. Even on top of the blanket, I can feel myself sink into the soil. In a way, it's like falling onto a soft bed after a long day. Refreshing.
It's always so nice kicking back up here. That crisp mountain air really helps you get back to nature.
Not that I don't agree, but...
Aren't you technically nature?
Giggling, Yellowstone slaps me on the back like she's trying to burp a baby. Well-meaning, I'm sure, but with how hard she's doing it, I feel like I'm gonna somersault over the face of the mountain.
That's different, you goofball. This here is my special place.
Special place?
I think it's because this is the view in the painting.
Yeah, everyone's gotta have a special place. I bet you have one too.
I think back to my old hikes up Lambert Dome, and how when I was at the peak, sweaty and scarfing down as much thin air as I could, I would sit down on the rock and start to journal. The wind was sometimes so fierce it would rip the papers right out of the notebook. But I was always able to make it work. At least back then I could.
I'm a ranger. The entire park is my special place.
Yellowstone blows out an impressed whistle that I swear echoes across the valley.
Phew. Can't argue with that kind of gumption now, can I?
Yellowstone's eyes widen.
Golly, I almost forgot. I gotta do laundry.
With a burst of second wind, she unzips one of the many, many zippers on her backpack. Which has more zippers? Yellowstone's backpack or a Tetsuya Nomura character?
Well, unless you take us home, there's not a whole lot you can...
The words have barely left my mouth when she dumps a trash bag full of dirty clothes into her head. Into her head?
Never mind.
I'm just imagining it's like hammer space in her backpack. It's like, you know, she shouldn't be able to fit like a whole load of laundry into her tiny ass backpack, but she does. And then she stuffs it in her head. It only gets more horrifying when she starts tossing in pods of detergent next. Zero brain only has room for laundry.
Yosemite is gonna bust a gasket if I don't get this done. Eve, quick! Say something super mean to me. It's okay. I can take it.
She gives me a determined nod, but I don't think she quite understands that I tend to specialize in this kind of stuff. There's a reason those bozos back at the station called me a porcupine. Does she have a built-in incinerator? Her head is a volcano. So I think lava can come out of it. She's definitely used it as a geyser before. But they specifically refer to her head as a volcano. But if she insists...
No one in the entire world, now or ever, will ever love you.
Yellowstone takes a moment to digest what I said. Her face goes downcast.
Wow. What a bummer.
Nothing you do will ever be appreciated or acknowledged. It's pointless.
That's really heavy.
This is really sad. I don't like this. I would have preferred what Zion did in Chapter 1 and just, like, step on her foot really hard. Tears spot the corners of her eyes. Whatever I'm doing must be working, because the distant sound of bubbling water begins to belch out of her volcano.
Pointless, just like your existence. If you think about it, if you keeled over tomorrow, your impact on the world would basically amount to nothing. I guess the worms would appreciate.
She shoves me. I nearly tip over.
Knock it off! You're just being nasty now. You big bully!
Whimpering, she tries to sniff back the tears, but that doesn't stop the water from boiling to the top of her head. But instead of squirting out like a geyser as it has before, it just bubbles at the surface. The clothes rise to the top, wadded up in a soapy ball. Foam creeps down her head like snow resting on a mountaintop.
So does that mean it's working?
Yellowstone nods her head, snorting back the snot as she regains her composure.
Uh-huh. Now it's just gotta stay like this for a little while.
And you have to do this every time you need to do laundry?
I can do it without all the waterworks, but it's slow as molasses.
That sounds exhausting.
She starts to laugh, but just as quickly it fades into a sigh.
It is. But it's cool beans. I've always been a bit of a crybaby anyway. In fact, the first thing I can remember is waking up and crying right over there.
My head follows along with her finger until she finally settles on some shrubs on the hillside.
In the bushes.
Darn Skippy! And in my birthday suit to boot.
That's just asking for trouble.
I didn't have much of a choice. Once I woke up, I spent a long time on my own.
A hazy gaze lingers in Yellowstone's eyes. Her mouth hangs open like she's about to say something, but for a long time she doesn't, and all I can do is listen to the sound of her boiling head mixed with the wind.
A super long time.
Like a month?
I grip the blanket and nervously twist it, knowing full well my guess is on the conservative side. Maybe it's the look she's giving, or maybe it's just a gut feeling.
Longer.
My stomach takes another plunge. Even if I expected it, it's still sobering to hear.
I was keeping track of the days, but then there was this huge blizzard and I lost my spot. I was brushing up against 10,000 though.
No way!
I'm no math genius, but I crunched the numbers in my head real quick. 10,000 days is almost 30 years.
You wandered around Yellowstone National Park naked and alone for decades?
Not naked. I would have frozen my tiny hiney off years ago.
Tiny hiney.
You see, there was this nice gal who was out camping.
Yellowstone massages the sides of her head, just beneath the base of her volcano. Her eyes squint like she's fighting a migraine.
I can't remember if she saw me first or if I stumbled on her. It's been so long, I don't even know what she looks like. But I do remember that she lent me her clothes. And that it was the first time I wasn't alone.
Yellowstone's voice sounds like a husk. Hearing it doesn't feel right, like I'm listening to something forbidden. I try to fight it with the only thing I really know anymore. Cynicism.
Being alone out in the woods for a couple years doesn't sound too bad. Don't have to deal with other people, at least.
That's the thing. I didn't even know other people existed. Well, maybe I did, somewhere in the back of my noggin. But I sure hadn't seen them before. You're a lot like Yosemite.
I am certainly not!
Yes, you are.
It's true, though. You both gotta have your alone time. That's dandy and all, but for a gal like me, it was so... dope AF.
That's not what that... No. Stop. I might throw myself off this cliff if she says that one more time.
I'd never felt something like that before. It made me feel all kinds of warm and fuzzies, so I kept going out and looking for more people.
My eyes can't help but drift up to her volcano. Instead of smoke, vapor simmers from it, clouding the top of her head with hazy waves of heat.
Wouldn't people be...
spooked?
I was going to say mortified, but that works.
As sure as the sun would rise.
Yellowstone gives a deflated sigh. The steam above her puffs out into a cloud.
But if they stuck around long enough, I'd try to help them out. Bring them kindling wood or grub, things like that. Sometimes they'd even talk to me.
Her standards for communication are so low, it's kind of impressive. Part of me wonders if both me and Yellowstone are looking for the same thing. Validation. The only difference is that Yellowstone was desperate enough to keep pursuing it, while I just gave up.
But in the end, they'd always pack up and leave, and I'd be alone again.
The corners of the sky have been brushed with a deep, brilliant red. Gradients with the darkening blue. Two different colors from the opposite end of the spectrum. Usually they would clash, but instead they blend and meld together, mixing into a faded lavender.
It was like that. It was always like that. Then Zion and Yosemite found me.
A question flies across my mind. How? Why would Yosemite and Zion even be in Yellowstone National Park? But something inside me tells me to save it for later, and whatever it is, it keeps me from spouting off my knee-jerk objections. That's the big difference between me and Yosemite. I actually have manners. When I want to.
For the first time since I woke up on this rock, it felt like I had a place to belong. Like a family, you dig?
I dig.
Yellowstone clasps her hands, rocking side to side as she recalls her nostalgia for the good old days.
Suddenly, I wasn't so lonesome anymore. Zion and Yosemite were both so chummy and nice to me. I wanted to do whatever I could to help out around the cabin.
Well, good to know Yosemite wasn't always a slave driver.
Yosemite didn't used to be a lot of things. Zion too, but in different ways.
The steam rising above her thickens a little. Maybe it's even darker. Her pleasant stroll down memory lane comes to a dead end, her voice falling back into that unusual monotone sadness.
But now things are just so different. I try my darndest, but Yosemite is such a grump and Zion can't help out like she used to. It's almost like I'm as lonesome as I was way back when.
Yellowstone sniffs and the water in her head bubbles to the surface, spilling down her volcano and into some of her hair.
Is that dumb, Eve? Am I just stinking thinking?
Something in my cold, withered heart sizzles as she wipes a few twinkling tears on her sleeves. I hate to be a sap about it, but I think maybe I was onto something. Maybe me and Yellowstone might have a bit more in common than I would have liked to admit. I could never be as open about it as her. Not when a brave face is what's gotten me this far. But that need for validation, for respect, I get it. You're not alone, kid.
I don't think it is.
Yellowstone's head twists over to look at me like I'm so fast I'm afraid she might get whiplash. She looks at me like, well, like I just sprouted a volcano from the top of my head.
Wipe that look off your face before I take it back.
The ultimate tsundere. She swipes her hand across her dumbfounded face. When her hand reaches the other side of her cheek, she's wearing a stretched out frown that digs into her dimples.
How do I put this? It's like the dumbest, most intrusive thoughts are probably the most honest. If it's in your head, then there's probably a reason for it, right?
Yellowstone's strained frown has collapsed into gawking amazement.
Do you get those dumb, implosive thoughts too, Eve?
Implosive.
Constantly. Wouldn't have clocked a guy in the face and ended up stationed at the cabin if I didn't.
Hot diggity.
Surely all those intrusive thoughts mean something. Yes. Yes, they do. A hot flush spreads through my face as I play tug-of-war with the urge to divulge more information. On one hand, she basically kidnapped me and made it so that I'm all but guaranteed to get chewed out by Jesse. On the other hand, I feel like I owe it to her in a way. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're the only one who cares, who's trying.
Actually, I had one of those implosive thoughts today.
She's running with it. That's cute.
Ooh, don't keep hanging. Spit it out.
She leans in so close that her volcano is practically in my ear. With all the bubbling, it sounds like a cauldron. And smells like a laundromat.
So, those campers from earlier?
They would have been up a creek without us. Maybe even literally.
Them. Yeah. When we were helping them out, one of them said something to me about how her old man used to take her camping before he passed.
Wowzers, that's kind of a shocker, seeing as they all looked scared of ya.
Trust me, you're not the only one who's shocked. It gave me this weird feeling.
Like those warm fuzzies I was talking about?
Yellowstone wraps herself in her arms like she's curling up in a blanket.
Nah, the opposite. Like, I wanted to puke.
Yikes. You really do hate people, huh?
That's what I thought. I deal with so many clowns and chuckleheads every day, I could build a circus. But this group wasn't that. They were just good kids. Looking back, a lot of visitors are. At the very least, they can shut up and follow directions. They're like cattle. Round them up and ship them off so I don't have to deal with them. So when one comes along to remind me that she's a real person, it's...
A sucker punch?
Something like that.
I let out a sigh right as the wind howls past us and rustles through the trees.
I've been doing this way too long. It's rotted me to my core.
But a core is better than nothing, and nothing is all I would have left if I turned to mush. I tried being vulnerable and open. Oh, fuck off. I hit the space bar by accident. Is Women Wednesday. Hey, wanna be weeb? How's it going? Does it hydrate? Can do. Thank you for that. Okay. Let's see. Yellowstone leaps to her feet. Hot water splashes everywhere.
Bogus talk. Sounds to me like you had a bonding moment and you're too chicken to admit it.
3land games are streaming. I know Callista is also doing NPG. What's the third one that's going right now? The fighter in me swings up without a second thought.
I am not afraid of admitting anything.
Even if I'm swinging way outside the truth.
Oh, yeah? Not even that you had fun helping those campers out?
I freeze, stare, look away. Damn it. Now she knows. Yellowstone crouches down, leaning ever closer as she tries to coax the answer out of me.
Not even an itsy bitsy teeny weeny bit?
Okay, fine.
I swat her away like an annoying fly.
It was sorta nice to help out people who were genuinely enthusiastic.
And don't forget grateful.
Yeah, that's another one to put on the list.
Don't you just wish it could always be like this?
I chuckle a little, brushing myself off as I climb to my feet.
Sure. Wish Pop would crap gold too, but I think I'll be waiting a while for both of those miracles.
Golden coyote shit. Alright.
Why can't we just make it happen ourselves?
What? What do you mean?
When she turns to look at me, there's a smoldering fire of excitement in her eyes. Tendrils of smoke rise from her volcano and ears.
The miracles.
I take a step backward, feeling a sudden surge of heat emanating off Yellowstone. My foot slips on a pebble, and I grasp the guardrail to keep from falling. I nervously laugh.
That's a nice thought, but it's about time we head home, don't you think?
Why? Who says we have to go home?
I do, for my job that you kidnapped me from.
What are you talking about? Of course we have to go back.
Do we, though? Do we really?
A soft orange glow starts to light up her head like a shy sunset.
Okay, whatever you're doing definitely isn't funny. Just take us home now. We've been here long enough.
I wouldn't have minded staying a few minutes longer just to let her enjoy it. But with the way she's acting now, I don't like it. It gives me a bad feeling, the kind I feel before getting a serious call from dispatch. It's something instinctive. Yellowstone shakes her head, causing the smoke to weave a lazy spiral in the air.
Just think about it, Eve. We can go around helping folks and they'll always appreciate it. And nobody will ever yell at us.
I get how you feel, but that wasn't...
If you get it, then why not? Were you just fibbing when you said all that stuff about people being good?
The question is like a smack across the face. I'm not even sure how to go about responding at first.
That's not important. I have responsibilities. You have responsibilities.
No. Yosemite says I have responsibilities. I only ever wanted to help, but not if nobody cares.
You brat.
I can feel all the goodwill that Yellowstone had built up over the day crumbling away.
This little crisis you're having? I've been dealing with it every day for the last 5 years, so don't you even try to lord it over me. Your stunt has already cost me the entire day. My supervisor is never gonna let me hear the end of it.
With each sentence, I take a step towards her, regaining the distance I lost earlier. Yellowstone just shakes her head like a petulant 5-year-old, tuning out or ignoring what I say.
She's going to be asking what caused me to abandon my duties. And the truck, which is government property, I might add. And I'm not gonna have anything good to tell her. So, the least you can do, literally the absolute least, is take me back like you promised and suck it up like I do.
Finally, we're a little over an arm's length away from each other.
You don't get it.
She's gonna burn the clothes. Her voice is a hoarse whisper. Smoke swirls from her head, wrapping around us.
Say that again.
I reach for her, ready to drag her ass back to Yosemite National Park myself.
No one gets it!
A wave of violent heat ripples off of Yellowstone, hot enough that it drives me back again. I press my hand to my forehead to shield myself.
Ah! What the hell?
The air shimmers in front of her as Yellowstone clenches her fists. Black dust mars the ground beside her, where she just obliterated some poor weeds. Pieces of charred laundry rain down on us, and for a brief moment I can see something like regret in her face. But then she switches back to looking upset. I don't even know why. I haven't even had time to ask. She went from 0 to 212 in just a couple seconds. My mouth goes dry. Hold on. Who did?
I thought maybe, just maybe, you would understand. But I was wrong. You're just like Yosemite! Well, I'm sick of it!
She takes a step backwards and the entire ground shakes. Startled birds take to the sky, abandoning the trees in droves. I lose my balance, falling to one knee. The ground rumbles yet again. Yellowstone unleashes a frustrated, blood-curdling scream. Oh fuck. My hands go from shielding my forehead to covering my ears. When the scream is over, I look up just in time to see Yellowstone disappear into the woods.
Hey! Where do you think you're going?
The Kano has erupted. Yeah, goddamn. Doesn't do any good, though. All that remains of her presence is the ashy ground where she stood and the remains of the laundry. I think one of Yosemite's socks landed on the picnic blanket. This is making me sad. Me too, Lemon. Me too. I stumble to my feet and give chase. It's difficult to follow her because I keep losing my footing, but I do my best. Other campers and hikers fly past in varying degrees of panic, but I don't hear what they say.
You little brat! I'm gonna shove my foot so far up your ass, it'll come out that volcano!
Amazing. Animals go by too. Terrified rabbits and mice, and a few desperate deer are all careen past. I can only imagine what it's like in other parts of the park if they're affected.
Yellowstone!
I must sound like an idiot to anyone who hears me, just screaming the name of the park, but I don't care. I need to find Yellowstone, the girl, and get out of here. As I run, I have to recognize the futility of what I'm doing. I have no idea what direction she might have gone in, and it's already dark and getting darker. I don't even have a flashlight. With a sick sense of irony, I realize I'm doing exactly what I yell at unprepared hikers for doing, wandering off the paths without a plan. I keep running, my hat flies off my head. I reach to grab it, but the ground rumbles again.
Whatever.
With a groan, I leave it be and keep calling for Yellowstone. For a second, I think I see the glow from her volcano. But when I get closer, I realize it's just the ashes of a recently abandoned campfire. Whoever made it probably left when the earthquake began. I quickly smother it in dirt since I'm unable to smother my ranger instincts. More and more distressed birds abandon the trees, while agitated mice and the like continue to whisk by underfoot. My heart pounds both from exertion and from fear. The altitude doesn't make it any easier to breathe. What if I can't find her? What if she doesn't want to be found? Up ahead, I pass by some more trees and then realize I'm at the edge of the mountain once again. Since this isn't a touristy spot, there's no guardrail at this section. It's just open space beyond, the yawning, inky blackness waiting below, and not a single trace of Yellowstone. Just as I think that, the shaking and rumbling starts up yet again. Once more, I feel myself wobble and start to fall over. Except this time, I'm not able to catch myself. My feet slide out from under me and I slam onto my side, hard as the momentum carries me the rest of the way over the edge. Pebbles and dirt batter my face as I scramble to find a handhold. Bile and pure, unadulterated panic sear my throat as my fingers find the slightest lip of rock to grab hold of.
Crap! Not again!
My voice bounces off the rocks below me, creating a rippling echo that rings out into the darkness. My hands sting, and my arms ache from the effort of supporting me. It's only been a couple of seconds. This is pathetic, and the worst sort of irony. My life doesn't flash before my eyes, so maybe that's a good sign. Unless that happens right before you hit the ground. I strain my muscles as I try to pull myself up. It reminds me of my training back in Glinko. Feel the burn, Adams! Feel the burn! A trickle of dust pours into my face as the rock ledge I'm holding onto starts to crumble. I can feel the stones starting to slide past my fingers. Damn it. I won't be able to hold my weight. It's really gonna happen like this, huh? Spend years of my life telling people to be careful around cliffs, only to end up falling off one myself. The universe sure does have a way of kicking me when I'm down. I shut my eyes. Maybe it's not so bad. At least this long joke will finally be over. The stone gives way. I fall. A force presses against my back. My boots grind against the cliffside as I slow to a floating stop. The sound of roaring wind is replaced with the flapping of two overworked wings. A small, familiar voice squeaks out from behind me. Oh, Zion saved her!
Miss Eve, you're really heavy.
Zion?
My eyes drift down towards my feet. If someone looked at this sideways, it might seem like I'm walking up the cliff.
Don't worry, Miss Eve. We've got you.
Is she here too?
I glance back at Zion, but I immediately regret it when I realize I still can't see the bottom.
What do you mean by she? I could have just left you to plummet to your death, you know.
Smug Yosemite. Yosemite's harsh voice carries from above me. I look up to see her holding out her hand. Without thinking, I grab it. Zion, finally free of the burden that is me, slides down to my boots and holds them up. With one giant heave, Yosemite pulls me onto the cliff.
Miss Eve, are you okay?
Am I okay? I paw at the ground, half expecting it to erode and fall away. Or to realize that I'm dead and that Yosemite and Zion being here are just fantasies my brain concocted to help me accept it.
Did the fall make you forget how to talk?
Yosemite slaps my hat over my head. It's crooked.
I'm okay. Thank you.
I awkwardly sit up, shame keeping me from looking into Yosemite's eyes. Of all the people to be indebted to.
How did you find me out here?
The paintings work both ways. Also, I had Zion patrol the bottom of the cliff because I figured you were already dead.
That's comforting.
Zion tugs at my sleeve.
Miss Eve, not to interrupt, but do you know where Yellowstone is?
That's right.
I punch my palm and it makes a loud smack. That whole almost dying thing almost made me forget about her.
I was just looking for that brat, actually.
The two of you weren't together?
She ran off. We were just talking, and then all of a sudden she got really pissy. Reminded me of you, actually. I was going after her, and then all this happened.
Yosemite and Zion's faces both go pale.
Uh-oh. That might be a problem.
How How mad was she?
I don't know. Why are you being attacked by your conscience now?
Conversations with Yosemite always put me on the offensive, but even Yosemite doesn't rise to my bait this time.
I mean it. Was she truly angry?
I guess so? What does that have to do with anything?
Do you know where you are? Does Yellowstone National Park not mean anything to you?
There are a couple iconic elements of the park. The wildlife, the geysers, the supervolcano.
No. That can't be what's happening.
Deductive reasoning? Put the pieces together. She is Yellowstone National Park. She's at Yellowstone National Park. What do you think is going to happen when she erupts in Yellowstone National Park?
That volcano has been dormant for centuries. It can't just go off on a whim.
Thanks for the insight, little Miss Geologist, but that's not going to actually stop it from happening. And when it does...
Yellowstone's gonna flip her lid!
That's so precious. Finally, someone uses that phrase properly.
There's no way. She can't cause an eruption or anything, right?
Do I look like I'm messing with you right now? Does any of this?
She gestures around at the empty forest, still rocked by occasional tremors.
No.
I hate it when I have to admit she's right.
Do you know why she was upset?
Seriously? Did you not see how she stormed out of the cabin in a huff this morning?
She's still angry over that? This girl will be the death of me, I swear.
Funny that she says that, considering she's literally almost been the death of me twice.
Well, I might have gotten a little snippy with her, but only because she started going on about how she wanted us to stay here forever. Not a bad idea, but I have work.
Pinching the bridge of her nose, Yosemite lets out a long sigh.
Thanks for making a bad problem worse.
I didn't. I wasn't trying to.
I stutter through my words, not sure if I should be apologizing or defending myself or what. Nothing I can say feels right.
It's okay, Miss Eve. I know you didn't mean to doom Western civilization.
This is how you do small characters right. You always give the small, innocent-looking characters the craziest ass lines. As if on cue, the rumbling underground starts up once more. Zion goes airborne to avoid it, while Yosemite and I use the trees for balance.
We need to find her fast. You have no idea where she might be.
None. She ran off a while ago. I don't know which direction she went.
We'll have to hope we get lucky then.
She hands me a flashlight. The two of them have their own as well. Switching on the beams, we look around for any trace of Yellowstone, moving as quickly as we can. Flip ya lid. Made Yellowstone flip her lid.
I doubt she's gone very far. She's probably hiding somewhere close by. Even she has to be aware of what's going on. I don't think she's stupid enough to let it happen, but still.
She's all alone. She must be really scared.
Her fault for running off.
Alright, you need to learn some fucking empathy, Yosemite. That's generalizing the situation a bit. The flashlights that we have are powerful and cut through the darkness easily. Still, without any real idea of where to start looking, it feels like the task is futile.
Seriously, if she wasn't so overdramatic about every little thing, we wouldn't have half as many issues as we do.
Yosemite tilts the beam upwards, as if Yellowstone might be hiding in a tree. I get a glimpse of just how annoyed Yosemite herself looks. I won't lie, there's a couple choice words, or beatings, I'd like to give Yellowstone when we find her, but it's not like she's entirely wrong to be upset. Yosemite isn't just a nag, she's actively being antagonistic towards her.
Yellowstone! Come out, wherever you are!
Zion flutters a bit off the ground, just enough to put the top of her head level with mine. I'm too exhausted to worry about other people seeing her right now. We all have bigger things to worry about.
Yeah, come out! Don't you think you've done enough already?
That's sure to make her want to meet up with us.
Did I ask for your opinion? I can't imagine I would.
My teeth grit together until the bottom set slides out. This girl must have a grapefruit-sized set on her to blow me off like that. Isn't this diva the one always thrusting her opinions on me when I don't want them?
Well, that's what you're gonna get. So shove it, you overgrown tree.
Yosemite turns to glare at me, her face twisted in anger. Her flashlight shines upon her chin, illuminating half her face and leaving the other half in shadows. Yosemite can flip on the scare factor whenever she wants, just like the night we met. She's not half bad at it either. Unfortunately for her, I can be scarier.
I've spent the better part of my day with Yellowstone. It might have been borderline kidnapping, but I think it's given me a good handle on why she's acting up.
Oh, the Ranger has a theory. This is gonna be rich.
It's more than a theory. And with all the moral dribble you try to cram into my head, I would have thought you'd be more aware of it.
Aware of what?
That Yellowstone is acting out because she's not getting any validation.
Yosemite lets out a single guffaw like some kind of rich Victorian woman.
Oh, Eve. Poor, precious, obvious Eve. You're projecting.
Excuse me?
It's literally what Yellowstone said to her.
It's not hard to piece together. You need validation for your miserable job, so of course you think Yellowstone needs it too.
My initial reaction is to swat this flashlight over her head, and earlier today I probably would have, but the more I think about it, the more I realize something.
Maybe you're right.
Yosemite does a double take. Shocked at first, but suspicion starts to creep on her face. She knows there's more coming.
But if that's what helped me relate to her, then so what? I'm not saying the little conehead is completely right, but would it kill you to show a little empathy?
Empathy? Really?
She gets in close. Her chin about touches my forehead, but I look up and meet her eyes.
Is that what you showed those campers this morning?
I look away.
That's what I thought.
That's a straw man. What a dirty trick, but I get the point. I'm not exactly in a position to defend people who have a penchant for screwing up, but there are people behind mistakes. People like Clara and her outdoorsy dad. Yosemite walks away, shining her flashlight back on forgotten paths and shaking trees.
Listen close, Eve. There's a difference between being ignorant and insistently inconveniencing others. Yellowstone is like a child who won't mind. She's just throwing a tantrum until someone notices her. Don't be that person. I can only hope she's not dumb enough to.
Will you stop being so mean to Yellowstone?
Finally. Yosemite and I both freeze in our tracks as Zion's voice cuts her off. We both turn to face the little cherub, who looks very unhappy.
It's like you aren't even hearing what Eve's saying. Maybe Yellowstone is lashing out, but she's only doing that because she's sad. Yellowstone loves helping. It's her favorite thing in the whole wide world, but wouldn't you be sad if no one ever thanked you? All you do is complain about her, even though she does so much for us. Maybe I'm not the best at saying thank you to her either. But at least I don't say lots of mean things about her when she's not even around.
Yeah, pop off, Zion.
You always tell people to be smart and to help others be smart. Then why can't you tell Yellowstone what she's doing wrong and help instead of just calling her dumb? Ugh, you make me so mad.
You just got owned by the baby. She flaps her wings angrily and moves closer to Yosemite, who watches open-mouthed. Now Yosemite's mouth snaps shut like a mousetrap. She blinks several times, several budding tears leaking out. She meekly nods. I don't have anything to say either, as Zion descends to the ground, her footsteps light enough not to make a sound. She marches off towards a bush nearby.
What? Where are you going?
To find Yellowstone.
I look to Yosemite, who's shielding her face with her arm as she chokes on her muffled tears.
Wow.
What? What are you looking at? Keep walking.
She tries to wipe her tears, but it only makes her eyes more red. I back away and follow Zion's lead. Holy crap, Yosemite just got chewed out by a toddler. Zion kneels down, and I crowd around her to see what she's doing. Yosemite drags way behind us, sulking. There, underneath the bush Zion chose, is a cute little bunny rabbit. He's ash gray with the teeniest little black spot on his ears. Aw, BB. Zion deliberately aims the beam of her flashlight to not blind him while she lays a hand against it. Only then do I realize that it's quaking in fear. Little tremors and spasms like the one that have been shaking the earth rock its body. Its wild eyes dart around while its snout twitches.
Poor thing.
Shh. Without even looking, Zion shushes me with a finger against her lips. Zion is in control of the party now. Gently, ever so gently, she strokes the hapless rabbit. Soon its shaking stops and it settles down. After a minute or two, it even leans its head against Zion's hand as if asking for more pets. Aww. That's when Zion stands up and the bunny hops off into the forest, seeming relieved.
I know where Yellowstone is now. The rabbit saw her in a clearing not too far away from here.
She can talk with the animals.
You can talk to animals?
Don't be silly, Miss Eve. Animals can't talk.
I exchange a glance with Yosemite, but she huffs and puffs and looks away. At this point, I'm just along for the ride, wherever it takes me. Zion sets off into the forest, seeming like she knows where she's going. She mostly goes on foot, but occasionally lifts herself into the air to avoid forest debris. After a bit, there's a rustling sound ahead, not too far from where Zion is. Yosemite aims her flashlight beam right onto Yellowstone's tear-stained face.
No! Don't look at me!
A couple sad wisps of smoke rise from her volcano, looking more like cobwebs than anything. The glow and the heat from before are gone. Yellowstone's eyes are puffy from crying, and the sleeves of her hoodie are stained with snot and tears.
Yellowstone is just us. We were super worried about you.
Zion takes a few steps into the clearing.
Don't come any closer! I screwed up real bad this time.
Yellowstone starts to sob, choking out the words between gutted breaths.
I'm sorry, I'm so useless. I can't do anything right.
No, sweetheart, no.
Everyone's so smart, and nice, and responsible, but I'm none of that stuff. I'm just a stupid crybaby who can't even do chores without screwing it all up. None of you should have to put up with me. And I know, right in the pit of my gut, that you all would be so much happier if I just wasn't around. I'm sorry you had to find me way back when. I'm sorry for being no good.
Oh, sweetheart, no.
Don't you dare say that about yourself!
Goddamn right, Zion. She hurries over to her friend, wrapping her arms around Yellowstone, who kneels down closer to the ground. They embrace each other, Yellowstone's sobs coming hard and fast.
But I burned the laundry.
Oh. The laundry. I almost forgot it all in all the panic, but they were in her head when she went and exploded. I hope mine was in another load.
Who cares about those old clothes? I was afraid that I wouldn't get to say thank you for all the nice things you do for us.
This just makes Yellowstone cry even harder. She doesn't even try to talk. She just cries and cries, soaking Zion's shoulder. Not that Zion seems to mind. Yosemite and I maintain our distance. She's quieter, but I think she might be sobbing harder than Yellowstone, her chest heaving up and down as she tries to stay quiet. I scoot in a little closer to her and pat Yosemite's shoulder. The shaking is completely stopped. For now, the world is still and quiet. I look above to the trees and to the sky. Between the branches, it looks like a portal into the stars.
Would you look at that? It's a clear night.
Reprimands, write-ups, trail duty. You'll be helping Simmons clean up so much trash that the plastic is going to biodegrade before you're done.
I flinch away from the headset as Jesse continues to squawk out new additions to the growing list of punishments I'll be receiving.
With all due respect, ma'am, if I've proven my incompetence at taking out the trash, then maybe that isn't the best course of action?
Not bad. My voice stiffens. I sound like the verbalization of a 2x4. But if I appeal to Jesse's paramilitary side, I might be able to get out of this. She pauses, nothing but static coming from the other line. Maybe I'll actually be able to pull this off.
Cute. Let's see if you can keep up that charm when dealing with the field trip group tomorrow. Any other holes you want to dig?
Not really.
Yikes. Jessie doesn't just lay down the law, she is the law. Still, it's not like I can actually explain myself. What would I say? Sorry I neglected my duties and left the government's truck in the middle of nowhere, but the Yellowstone the girl took me to Yellowstone the park? May as well trade my badge for a straitjacket at that point. Groaning, Jessie fakes a cry that sounds just a little too real.
Ugh. Why do you always make my job so much harder, Eve? Is it fun? I remember when I used to have fun.
Oh boy, he really did it this time.
Look, I'm really sorry, Jessie. Something came up, and I had to,
I cough, because there's no way I can say this with a straight face and it won't sound bad.
hitch a ride back and take care of it.
God, it sounds even worse out loud.
Take the truck, then! I had to send Ernie to go get it. Now I'm down a man, and there's 24 completely full trash cans in high-occupancy areas. As if I didn't already have enough on my hands with all this Yellowstone business. Do you know how many locals called me about the earthquakes?
Please tell me it was just one lone idiot.
Try 42. Today.
Someone give this poor woman a break. Whatever she makes isn't enough.
It's like, hello? This isn't even the right park. And even if it were, I don't have any information that's not on the news. And I don't think my degree in criminal justice qualifies me to try and gather more. I'm at the end of my rope, and it's starting to look more and more like a noose.
For the past 12 hours, the news cycle has been ablaze with reports of volcanic activity centered in Yellowstone National Park. Several earthquakes, one of which was a 7.2 on the Richter scale, have also been reported. All the scientist types have been up in arms. Young guys with messy hair on talk shows huffing and puffing about how catastrophic this could be. Call it a hunch, but I think it's all gonna die down in a few days.
Well, it sounds like you have your work cut out for you. Give me a call if you need a hand. I'm not good for much, but maybe I can help you manage the chaos.
Aw, Eve.
In my head, I can clearly see her bring her hand to her chest in appreciation.
I always knew you were good. You just need a push in the right direction.
God, how many times have I heard that?
That's me. Eve the Good Ranger.
Well, Eve the Good Ranger, don't think your newfound kindness means you're off the hook.
Her voice gets quieter, but she sounds closer than ever, as if her lips are brushing against the mic.
Not by a long shot.
Jesus. Static.
Over and out.
More static. I set aside the mic and headset, an ominous sense of dread washes over me as I drag myself over to my spot at the table.
Trouble in paradise?
Yosemite peers over her book. I flop down on my chair and glance over at Yellowstone, who's busy working away at the sink.
Nothing worth opening wounds over.
Sunlight bursts through the window, the flimsy curtain doing little to inhibit it. It drapes itself like a lazy cat across the table, warming the pages and my hand. I pick up my pen. In it, my grasp over Teddy, one page already half full with words. It in my grasp over Teddy, one page already half full with words. I pause, staring at the window as I try to think of what to write next. Yosemite alternates between sipping her tea and writing a few words at a time. She catches me staring once, but rather than a challenge or an insult, she just nods in acknowledgement. An unspoken truce between us. Not far away, Pup and Zion sit beside each other on the floor. Pup wolfs down a bowl of the finest puppy chow, his long tongue assaulting every single speck of food. Zion balances her bowl of oatmeal on her knee, a generous portion of raisins decorating its surface. She tries unsuccessfully to feed one to Pup.
That's not coyote food either, is it?
Yellowstone glances over from the hot stove where she's cooking. Zion looks up, a raisin still stuck to her finger.
Coyote food?
Yep. Weren't you saying the other day that he shouldn't have any people food?
Zion frowns for a second, then smiles wide.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Oh.
Sorry, boy. I shouldn't have teased you with this.
She's forgetting. The raisin on her finger rejoins the rest of its kind. Pup seems wholly indifferent. He's finished his meal and is pushing his bowl around the floor as he tries to slurp up every last morsel. Yellowstone smiles to herself as she stirs the eggs and flips the pancakes. I'm not sure that anyone else sees. As she cooks, she occasionally darts away from the stovetop to place an errant book back on the shelf, or to wipe down the stains left behind by my coffee mug. She rinses out the percolator and deposits it in the sink. Then, with the same motion, she deftly slides a perfectly round pancake onto a plate. She repeats the process several more times before carrying 2 steaming plates to the table.
Bon appetit!
It's the thought that counts. She slides one of the plates in front of me. It's laden with fluffy scrambled eggs and equally fluffy pancakes. I want pancakes so much. I have waffles, though. I'm going to make waffles after this.
This looks great. Like always.
Yellowstone beams in response. Then she swoops over to the other side of the table, proudly delivering Yosemite's breakfast a safe distance away from the open book. Yosemite slides that away as she picks up her fork.
Thanks.
Yellowstone's hand freezes, just inches above the tabletop. I also set down the bite of food I was about to take, staring at Yosemite.
What?
She hurriedly chews and swallows her first bite of food, looking from me to Yellowstone and back again. 2 big old tears swim in Yellowstone's eyes. Tears of joy.
Don't mention it.
I can't believe my ears. She knows how to say the T word after all.
Yosemite glares at me, but it's not as sharp as usual. After all, she knows she can't really deny it in this case. So she just rolls her eyes, sheathing the daggers in them, and goes back to her breakfast. And with a bounce in her step, Yellowstone goes back to her own meal. The pancakes are as perfect and delicious as before. I devour them with gusto, a lot like Pup with his meal. Some of the syrup from the cakes is spilled over onto the eggs, giving those a tinge of sweetness. I scarf them down too. We spend our whole meal in comfortable silence, save for the occasional whine from Pup and the giggles from Zion as she plays with him. Once we're finished, I collect both my plate and Yosemite's and start to carry them to the sink. Like a homing missile, Yellowstone intercepts me, whisking the plates out of my hand before I can even protest.
Oops, I can handle those. Just gotta shake a tail feather here.
Half a pancake and most of Yellowstone's scrambled eggs remain on her plate.
It's okay. You can finish eating. I can take care of these.
I reach for mine and Yosemite's plates once again, but Yellowstone holds them out of reach. There's already a precarious stack of dirty dishes in the sink, and I don't know how she plans to add those to the pile without making a mess.
It's no sweat. No siree.
Despite the visible beads of sweat on her face, Yellowstone keeps up the charade.
Hey, seriously, just let...
Yellowstone starts to lose her balance, and the syrupy fork slides from a plate and clatters to the ground below. Pup flinches in surprise, growling at the insolent piece of silverware that's dared to enter his domain.
Oops. Sorry about that. Here you go. It's even dirtier now, though.
Zion's such a good baby. Dirt and dust cling to the maple syrup, clogging up the tines of the fork. Yellowstone grimaces as she tosses it into the sink, aware of the extra scrubbing it'll need. I settle down back into my seat, recognizing that Yellowstone's not going to let me win here.
I mean it. I don't mind helping out.
But Yellowstone just waves away my offer, despite the fact that she's using one hand to balance our dishes and her other hand to try and cut her pancakes so she can eat.
It's okay.
With a deep, deep sigh, Yosemite places a bookmark in her journal and stands up. Everyone turns to look at her, expecting some tirade about how she can't focus with all this noise going on. But instead, she faces Yellowstone and smiles.
How about I help out instead?
Aww. Just the face changing. Yellowstone's face cycles through a variety of emotions faster than I can process. To her credit, she doesn't start crying again.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Now hurry up before I change my mind.
Okay.
Educate yourself. Then I set Teddy aside. Outside, a loud banging begins to disturb the quiet park air. There's the distinctive sound of a door being thrown open, and then familiar voices can be heard. Ah, it's today's idiots. Ah, yesterday's idiot. The bickering couple from yesterday with their clunky tin can. I reach for my hat and put it on, adjusting my uniform just a little bit so my badge is visible.
Are you gonna go give them what for?
No, not this time.
I head to the front door, my hand on the knob. From the sink, Yosemite glances over at me over her shoulder and throws me a nod.
I'm gonna go help out.
Aww. Oh, what a good story. I looked, I've largely gone into this, like, blind as heck, except I looked at the achievements on Steam. So there's 5 episodes, and episode 5 is in 2, like, big parts. So it's like the first one is about all of the meeting. Second episode is Yellowstone. Episode 3 will be about Zion. Episode 4 is about Yosemite. And then episode 5 introduces someone new. I think it's Death Valley is a person. Idiot wife. Yeah, Allie Goodall. She was in Heart of the Woods as the main character, Maddie. They're Canada Great Lake Girls. We have parks too, although we have provincial parks. So I guess we'd have like Algonquin. I don't know any of the other parks. I'm so bad.
Howdy, campers, and welcome back to another edition of mine and Zion's Fireside Chat.
Yeah.
Hello. It's very nice to be here.
Geometry is not really my thing either. Geography. How about they both suck? Geometry and geography. There's only one for episode 5, and it's named episode 5 part 2. Interesting. Wasn't like that when I got them. And I only bought the whole set recently.
There was a whole lot of ruckus about the Yellowstone supervolcano in today's episode. We're pretty sure most of you got the gist of it.
But we're a tiny bit afraid it might have gone over some of your heads.
Zion, you're such a good baby.
I know it would have whizzed over mine if it weren't for the fact that it is my head.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. Some basic information about the Yellowstone supervolcano. Yosemite says learning is super important, so I hope you can take this knowledge with you wherever you go in the world.
'Cause you just gotta know a thing or two about gastrology if you like national parks.
Gastrology?
I think you meant to say geology, Yellowstone?
Ah. Zion's just such a good bean.
Geology. Great. Now just say that word over and over until you can't forget it.
Geology, geology, geology.
So while she's doing that, I should probably start off by explaining that the supervolcano is what we call a caldera. A caldera is a big hollow space that's made after a lot of magma is shot out during an eruption. If enough magma is shot out, the ground above it loses support and the whole thing goes tumbling into the magma chamber.
And that's how you get, like, big cratery looking volcanoes.
That's geology for ya. Can't understand a lick of it.
What was there to not understand? It was pretty straightforward.
Well, I'm glad you remembered how to say it at least.
Wowzers, give me some credit here. There's a whole lot of stuff I can remember.
Really? I'd like to hear what you know.
Okie dokie, artichoke. Hang tight, cause I'm about to drop some super hot volcano facts on ya. First off, the volcano has only ever had a gigantic eruption 3 times. And they all happened between 2.1 million years ago and 640,000 years ago.
Does that mean when you almost flipped your lid, that was the first time it had been active in a super duper long time?
You flipped her lid.
Nuh-uh. Just cause it hasn't gone kaboom in a minute doesn't mean it's not active.
Well, that's terrifying.
What?
Yeah, same, Zion.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of good old-fashioned volcano junk happening underground. In fact, the cause of... One sec, gotta look at my hand.
Cheating.
Geothermal! In fact, it's because of all the geothermal vents that we have a whole slew of geysers across the park, including my gal Old Faithful. Ain't that just groovy?
That is pretty dope AF.
Zion, no! Same, Eve. Same.
But what if it goes kaboom for real? It's a little scary to think about.
No need to freak. As long as I don't flip my lid again, it should be all good in the neighborhood.
Oh, that's a relief. Thank goodness.
But...
Uh-oh.
A lot of tiny earthquakes do happen in Yellowstone, somewhere in the ballpark of 2,500 every year.
Damn, that's actually quite a lot.
Oh, that's more than I would have expected.
Yeah, to put it mildly.
Relax. It's just nature doing its thing.
It doesn't sound so bad when you say it like that.
It's totally gonna blow one day, though.
And cue the Zion panic in 3, 2, 1.
Please don't say something so terrifying so casually.
I was expecting a bit bigger of a reaction, but alright.
Not today, cutie. Or tomorrow. Or even in the next couple centuries. But it will. One day. And when it does, a big old plume of ash is gonna pelt down on Wyoming and all the other surrounding states. Plant life and livestock will be suffocated by it and kick the bucket. Maybe even regular folks, too. Buildings and equipment are probably gonna get squashed by all the rock. Entire communities might be wiped off the map. Worst case scenario, the delays in agriculture and production could lead to a global economic freefall. Whee!
That's also how I would feel about a global economic freefall.
Looks like we're all out of time. Catch you next time, campers. And remember to love our parks.
Wiped off the map?
Poor Zion. Okay, and we're gonna save. There we go. What a good story. I'm glad that we got like a whole episode just for Yellowstone. What a good bean. And Zion is a mix between like the most mature and also forgetful toddler, and it's a little concerning. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm glad that I have this picked up, or that we can do this. Let's see, is there? I don't have a... You know what? Let's go in and... Yeah, we're gonna go raid my buddy Francois. So I will see y'all on Friday, where we pick up Kingdom Hearts again. We didn't do one last Friday because I had the Raft collab, but we had done an extra Saturday stream the week before, so yeah. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming out, and I will see y'all in a few days. Have a good one, gang.